Okay, man, it's really good to see you. So this is episode number 2 of my podcast series, my English podcast series. Today we have Alessandro Pace. He's a Fordan from
Hey,
Italy, and a good friend of mine. So hello, man.
hello.
Hello.
Hello to everyone. Hello.
So
So yeah, actually,
what I would like to ask first is like the easiest question of all, I suppose, which is, who are
let's see.
you?
Oh my God, that's it's already so difficult. I knew it. So who are me? Who is me?
Yes.
So I am Alessandro Pace. Almost. That was almost correct.
Almost.
Since yeah,
Bo.
because Bo it's like invented, totally invented.
Mhm.
So I'm Alessandro Pace from Italy,
Yes.
and I usually present me as a musician. Yeah, mainly. That's what
Yes.
my life is all about, probably.
And
At
what's the
least that's
deepest
my.
level of you? Like, is it music? Like, is
Mm.
music the deepest expression, or is there like I don't know, some deep
Mm.
sense that really encapsulates who you are?
Yeah, that I'm not totally sure about. Like, it could be music. I mean, just because it's just what I did the most in all
Mm.
these years since
Yeah,
I
yeah.
since I was born. Probably, like I'm surrounded by music, my family,
Nice.
and whatever I did. But then, if you ask me what it's exactly inside myself, I'm not sure. Music is the only answer. Like,
Mm.
because I feel like it's maybe it's not the only thing that really interests me.
Yeah.
There are too many stuff to just get focused on one. That's my point of view.
For sure, for sure. So let's get into that being surrounded by music all your life. So how did it start, or how did the passion start, or how for music, and why, or I don't know, like what were maybe very important moments in that development? Like how
Yeah.
how did music become such an integral part of your life?
So yeah, to start with, my almost my whole family can do some music with some instruments or singers and stuff.
Nice.
And even my parents, my father and mother, they took me very often to the choir rehearsals when when I was very small.
Wow, that's cool.
So I also tried to sing when I was there because I was not like just standing and and waiting. So
Yeah.
yeah, I also listen very much music in that period, and I started practicing like almost everyone in Italy at the elementary school when they give you this mortal instrument, which is the recorder,
Ah.
and which is very loud and easy to play, and so
Mhm.
it just became very chaotic if you give it to an entire class.
Yeah. Okay,
But I
that's
was
interesting.
fascinated by it
Yes.
somehow. Let's say just because it's the first thing that bring me to make music. That's
Yeah.
probably
What
the
what is it?
only
I don't
reason.
know it. Like what is that
Oh, the
thing?
recorder. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Oh wait, wait. I think I have one.
Oh, that's great.
Maybe. Yeah. Oh man. No, that's not great. Trust me, because it's this stuff. Because at first it sounds really like this,
Yes.
especially if you give it to some kids.
Ah, so it
But
was a
then,
flute. Like it was a flute that everyone was playing on.
yeah, yeah, this one is it's
Okay.
very popular in Italy. It's like
Ah,
everyone
okay.
in elementary starts with this stuff,
Okay, okay.
which
Nice.
is yeah, which
Interesting.
sometimes is not not so nice. But so yeah, I just started practicing on my own, and
Mm.
I guess I was the only one in the class because everyone hated it.
Yeah.
But so I of course get already some better than all the other students because I was like
Yes.
obsessive. and,
It's good
and
to be
then
obsessive sometimes.
yeah, sometimes, yeah. So after that, I switched to the normal flute, the transverse, the cross flute,
Hmm.
which looked more serious.
Yeah.
And so that was the middle school. And then also my parents bought me a keyboard.
Hmm.
So for that I didn't ever take lessons. Maybe also because it costs a lot, like
Ah.
piano lessons. It's very more expensive than
Hmm.
flute ones.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I just played that on my own, and
Hmm.
that's how it just went on and on. Then I started composing, and then how it's called, high school.
Yes.
I entered the music academy, the Rome Music Academy. It's
Wow.
kind of famous. It's Santa Cecilia.
Hmm.
It's famous in the world of music, at least.
Yes.
And that's it. Then I start studying composition, and when I finished high school, I was like, maybe now I should make flute at a more serious level.
Hmm.
So I started practicing that too, and I also entered in the academy with flute, which
Nice.
I finished before composition. Actually,
Hmm.
I started later, but that's only 5 years. Actually, 5 years I could take to, how it's called, the degree, like the,
Degrees.
I think no,
Like some paper that
mm,
tells you
yeah,
graduated.
that one. Yeah, yeah. So
I don't know what it's
I
called.
could take. Yeah, I know in Italian, of course,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but so
Graduation
I took
form. I don't know.
two. Yeah,
Who
I
cares?
took two of these stuffs in 5 years with flute,
Wow.
but composition is much longer. It's like
Hmm.
10 years,
Hmm.
and actually I'm finishing this year the
Oh,
composition studies,
wow.
which is crazy. Like the
Yes.
exam is totally madness. You wouldn't believe if I tell you
What
what.
kind of exam do you have for composition? Do you have to do all the hand
Yeah.
wavings and or how does it
No,
work?
no, it's weird because you have some kind of enclosure. We call it clausura,
Hmm.
which means that they close you in a room, and you have to make some works, some specific exercise, like
Uh-huh.
write some part of a symphony or write a quartet,
Hmm.
and and you have like 36 hours to do so. So you're in there for this
Wow.
exam for 36 hours, and you can also sleep. Of course, they give you, it's like a prison. They give you a bed and some food. Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's mad.
Wow, that's really madness. Wow. But that's really cool.
Yeah,
I think that sounds really nice.
yeah, it's an
Um,
experience probably.
yeah, exactly. Like it sounds like something I would come up with, like how
Yeah,
to
yeah,
how
yeah. How to make this exam, like the final exam? Yeah, just close him for 2 days.
yeah, it
Yeah.
like it doesn't sound very generic, it doesn't sound very like
Hmm.
common, very normal. It sounds like someone really thought about, okay, how to really, find out who the people are that really know
Hmm.
their shit, right? And that have
Yeah, yeah,
this fire inside of
yeah.
them. So I guess
Actually,
it's kind of
yeah,
bad for people who are a bit more nervous to in
hmm.
to have
Yeah,
this kind
probably.
of thing.
It's like never-ending exam.
Hmm.
And actually, there are more. You have to do this more times because it's not only once. Like there
Wow.
are more. Yeah,
Okay, cool. So that's gonna happen this year or next year or
yeah.
when's gonna?
Probably this summer. Yeah,
Wow.
I guess so. Hmm.
Good luck,
Yeah.
man,
Thanks. Yeah.
and have fun. Enjoy it.
That's sure. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So what are you
And
doing?
actually, yeah.
What are you doing
Uh-huh.
right now? Like, or maybe properly asked,
Oh,
like, how does when you study music, how does it look like? Like, yeah, how does it look like? I don't really know.
yeah. Well, if I was like, if I do what I should do, which is not always the case,
Sure.
then I should just take my instrument, let's say, maybe 2 or 4 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And there are very specific exercises that are practically technique
Mm-hmm.
that you should do like constantly, and they're not fun at all. Like if you hear them, you will not be impressed.
Mm.
And even if you play them, it's not so fun. It's very hard work.
Yeah.
And
It's just
so
training the
that's
muscle,
the
basically, more or less, like training the
yeah
different.
kind of yeah kind of yeah, it's, we could say muscles, but it's too complex
Mm-hmm.
to really focalize on something like
Yeah. Yeah.
at muscular level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like I don't know, like playing good all the stuff and
Mm-hmm.
all the possible techniques.
Yeah.
So for example, you can make scales and arpeggios, and
Mm.
just learn all the normal stuff, but that's mainly finger works,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which is, and then there is the sound works, which is more complicated, because
Mm.
it's not clear what it is about. It's just a mixture of what happened with my mouth, and what I hear and what I can change.
Mm-hmm.
That's very complicated, and probably it's the also interesting, because you really have to concentrate. I mean,
Mm.
if you study like 6 hours without concentration, you even get worse
Yeah, I
than
can
when you
imagine.
start. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you need
that's
to be focused.
that's what I should do mainly. Like,
Mm.
but then of course I also have to prepare some real pieces to make music,
Mm.
and that usually depends on on what I have in plan. Like if I have an audition, then sure I will study the piece for that audition,
Mm.
or lessons, and yeah. So basically, what I do the most is actually that I take random pieces and I start playing with YouTube accompaniments
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. There are many free accompaniment with only piano, and you play on with the flute. And because it's very difficult to find the motivation to just normally study.
Mm.
So I usually just play many pieces and try to think about the technique part of it.
Yeah.
So I just study playing mainly, yeah,
Mm.
when I'm not too motivated to study,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least at least I play in that way. But yeah, so flute is just part of the of my studies at the moment. So I
Mm.
should focus more on composition, probably, since it's the last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very it's very complicated exam actually,
Yeah.
because
So
it's true that it looks like 36 hours are a lot, but everyone just tell me no, it's very few, like you will not never finish in time, and stuff like that. And I can believe it, like I can imagine it.
yeah, for sure. I
Hmm.
mean, it's also this weird thing in a way, like when if you would imagine a writing class, right? And then they would also seal you off for like 36 hours and would tell you like write an essay with 10,000 words or something, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
damn, okay, okay, I need to be creative, be creative, be creative. And then
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, that last phase, 36 hours. Yeah,
it's difficult.
yeah,
Like
it's interesting.
especially when it's necessary, right? Like for creative
Mhm.
people to like it can sometimes be helpful, but also it can sometimes be almost impossible when you have deadline, right? Like sometimes it can help
Mhm.
you to motivate you to do something, but sometimes it
True.
can also like crush you, like, oh, I'm not coming up with anything, like, and if you don't have a deadline,
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
it's like, oh, it's flowing, your the ideas are
Ah,
coming
that's
out.
true. Yeah.
I think it goes both
Mhm.
ways. So
Yes, it's
So how much do you compose? Like, how much is that part of your everyday or your month or
Hmm.
your year? You know, like how much time do you spend on composing stuff? And is it all original, or how does that process work? Like, do you look at certain parts of another music and you think like, oh, I want to make a variation of that, or like how does the process work? I'm wondering.
Wow, that's that's quite a long subject.
Sure, sure.
Uh, wow.
I have time.
So true. Okay, let's say lately, to me, it's becoming more and more difficult to write because it's, let's say that I'm getting uh, maybe better at analyzing than writing.
Mm-hmm.
So because I studied many pieces of masterpiece, like from very big composer,
Mm.
and I started to appreciate at a higher level all the
Yeah.
composition and begin to understand what they're doing and why it's amazing.
Yes.
So the more I just study this master thesis, and the more I try to analyze myself, and of course I cannot compare me to
Mm.
them, but I automatically do it that when I'm
Sure.
writing. So I am at the level that I start writing and I feel like, this is not good. This is not really good,
Mm.
and that it's a possible block in composer's lives. I think
Yeah.
many people stop writing because of that, because just you get too much autocritic,
Yeah.
and that can really stop you. I remember when I started writing music, I was like 14 years old, and
Wow.
that was really like a flow, like continuous flow. And
Mm-hmm.
I write and write all the days, and came up with many pieces with
Wow.
so many different pieces, which now if I see them, then I mean they're funny, but I will
Yeah.
not put my name on those music.
Mm.
But still, I'm impressed about how easy it was to write without knowing anything.
Mm.
It's impressive how much sometimes, I mean, the less you know, the more it's easy to just create.
Yeah.
And but of course that could be also not be that way. I mean, I could also just create and then study and then put something more in my creation. That's
Yes.
how it's supposed to be. At least it just makes sense.
Yes.
And it's how the normal procedure, like the normal studies, are intended to be.
Yeah. So it's
But
difficult
I
basically
feel,
to get rid of this
yeah,
internal critic, I guess.
true. So my opinion is that if you're doing something creative like writing or composing, then you should never stop doing it. Like,
Yeah.
it's important to keep doing it, to have because yeah, at least it just uh, continue to be natural. And I stopped for a period to write, and I think that's the main reason that I'm now making so much effort to restart,
Mm.
because I continued to study in that period. So now I'm at a different level, like knowledge and
Yes.
just doing it, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
now pretty different. So I I managed to overcome that last year
Mm.
for one piece, for
Nice.
just one piece,
Oh, that's
which
fun.
was for flute and piano.
Hmm.
And I really spent like maybe 3 or 4 months to write this stuff,
Nice.
because yeah, I changed it so many times, and I was always focused on little details, and so it's very difficult to go just to proceed if you stop on details.
Mm.
It's just better if you, probably if you just do it and then correct it and change it, and at least you have something to work on.
Mm.
But
Yes.
if you get yeah, yeah, I mean,
Like the details should come last, right? Basically, like
probably. I mean, that's easier. Like because if not, then it's or maybe you can have it all in your mind, and then it's maybe you can even do it on details time to time. But
yeah,
if you have even just little doubt in your mind, then you will always find it, because in all this detail, in at least one detail, like there
for
is,
sure.
there can't be just one little thing that you don't are not sure of,
Yeah.
and that can stop you. Like if you're just stop thinking.
Yes.
So yeah, so what I basically do, it's I mean I'm trying to overcome it, and to make something senseful, like something that I can say, this is my way, this is something that I can do and maybe others can't.
Mm.
So my
Mm.
idea was in this case that I can play flute, so that's probably something I should use,
Mm.
my
Yes.
knowledge of flute, which is different from the knowledge a normal composer should have
Yeah.
of the instrument. It's quite different. So my idea was this, that I try to take the flute part from improvisation. So I just started to make very many improvisation, recording myself,
Ah, nice.
and in a way that whatever I played was pretty natural on the instrument, was
Mm.
very not difficult, and not
Hmm. So not
uh,
too technical,
yeah,
basically, more
not too
flow.
technical. Yeah,
Mm.
yes. Even if sometimes I I made very weird stuff that looked so difficult,
Hmm.
but then of course I'm improvisating, so it's something that it's already in my fingers, in my way of playing.
Yes.
So the result was something, let's say, not easy but very personal, and
Yeah, yeah,
something that
exactly.
I can play easily,
Yes.
maybe easily. Let's say at
Yeah,
least I
yeah,
can
yeah.
play. And then I took this improvisation and usually work on those, and start to find a structure. And it
Mhm.
depends. Like sometimes I prefer starting from the structure. Like I want to know exactly what will happen, and sometimes just it's the opposite. So it can be both ways. Like for example, yeah, for example, uh, when I had last year like a deadline for a composition,
Mhm.
which is, so I start this stuff. I start improvising. I start recording, and I had so many ideas, all collected. And then the thing is, what can I do with this with all of this idea? What should I bring? What should I just leave
Sky.
out?
Yes.
Yeah, and so at the moment I had no idea about how to make the structure of this, because it was not really connected stuff. It was all very unclear.
Mm. Mm.
But then I spent like 2 weeks thinking only of this. Like, I had all this material,
Mm.
which probably you can do like 10 pieces with all that
Yeah,
material,
yeah.
10 different pieces. the, and still I couldn't write anything, because I was still wondering, like, what
Mm.
should I do with this?
Yes.
And in the end, I found an idea for the structure and for how to call the piece, the title.
Ah, nice.
And after that, I finished in one day.
Oh, wow.
And the
Wow.
idea was, the idea was, the title was, how is called in English? Like, it's a Shakespeare stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's like Midnight Dreams of,
Uh-huh.
oh,
You
how
you
it's
can say
called?
it in Italian once and then
Sogno di una notte di mezz'estate, and
uh-huh.
I can translate this, dream of a midnight summer dream, something like, no.
Uh-huh.
So I say it already, dream.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
maybe just Midnight Summer Dream, something like that.
Yeah, I think something like that. I mean,
Something like that.
anyone who knows Shakespeare knows what I'm
Yeah,
talking
I don't know
about.
him too well. Like I had him in
Okay.
school for a while, but
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And
Maybe
the fact is
Midnight.
that
Like, wasn't there something like Midnight Sonata? No, that's something different, I think. Okay, I
no,
have no idea.
we
I have no idea.
okay.
Anyway, someone will tell us
So
a
the
bit later.
yeah, the thing is that in this play there are three stories, three different stories,
Mm-hmm.
which just alternate during the play,
Ah,
and but in the end they all get
come
together
together.
somehow.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the end of the play where
Mm-hmm.
they just connect.
Mm-hmm.
So I divided all my collection of recordings in three stories. Like this is this
Yes.
story, this is this and this, and
Wow.
so I could alternate fast between one and another because it just makes sense. I mean, it's like the play. It's
Yes,
not
yes,
my
yes.
it's not my fault if it's all different, right? It's how it's meant to be.
That's
And then the only thing I had to work on was how to connect all of those in the end,
yes.
which was the part where I use my studies, I use my exercise, and was very technical because
Mm-hmm.
I have three different melodies, let's say, and I have to make something together. But was possible for sure. I mean, after 10 years of studying, at least that was possible.
That's really nice,
So
man.
yeah, sometimes just the title makes everything. Yeah, but
Nice. That's
it
really
depends
cool.
time to time.
So you basically
And usually,
took a structure from playwriting and incorporated that
yeah,
into composition. So
yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. That was nice trick. And usually, I also get motivation and inspiration from other flutists. Like I hear someone playing, and I get impressed by something particular, like the way he play or his sound or his technique,
Mm,
something, and then I just try to write something that will fit, like with his style,
mm,
and that's interesting to do, and
yeah,
pretty natural to me somehow. Yeah.
nice.
So that's what I'm doing right now. Like mainly I'm trying to connect flute and composing, which
Yes.
makes sense. I mean, I would like to connect Go too, but
Yeah.
I didn't still find a way.
Maybe at some
Yeah.
point you will. Maybe at some point you will.
Probably, yeah. I'm still thinking. Yeah.
So it's a good idea. You, like one thing that you could do would be something like composing different pieces for different type of games, and then you could teach an AI to understand what type of game a game is, and then we could have a Go server where basically that AI trained by you and your music will play
Ah.
music according to the game, you know, and so you
Ah.
hear, so while you are
Oh,
playing, you hear the music that you were playing, and you know
that's amazing.
it's like a random collection, but the AI is kind of good in
Mhm.
understanding, like basically, yeah, it's kind of like this. Okay, you take 20 games and you compose something for every game, and then the
Yeah.
AI takes these 20 games and the compositions to these games to understand
Mhm.
what kind of
What I did.
music connects to what kind of game, and that way we
Yeah.
have a Go server where people hear the music that
Uh,
connects to their game.
oh yeah. That's actually quite interesting. And also AI is an interesting subject in music,
Mm,
and I'm kind of researching about it.
mhm,
Actually, that was not my own idea. Let's say that I have a very good friend, like from not from childhood, but looks like so, like looks
mhm.
like I know him from always,
Yes.
and he's studying in the AI subject, and sometimes like he just send me links with this crazy AI stuff.
Yeah.
Like for example, I know that you like Eminem, and
Nice. Me too.
and and there was this stuff that let's say the AI created the audio track. Let's say not the instrument, not the note,
Hmm.
not everything normal, just the audio track
Hmm.
directly. And and with this system, they managed to, for example, uh, make in a way that you put an input like a text,
Hmm.
and for example, there was this stuff that you can write anything, and Eminem will read it and sing it. So you hear some random song with
Wow.
the real Eminem voice and stuff, and it really works. Like it
Wow.
was impressive.
Wow, that sounds really
So
impressive. Is there a website
yeah,
for that basically, or?
yes, that
Wow, I
was the
will
website where you can
look that up.
find. I don't remember now the name, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I will search
probably
for
you
it.
can find.
That sounds
Yeah,
cool.
and so what basically he continues to tell me, and he's insisting with me, because he's saying that this stuff, also the one that I just told you, is not really that hard in programming.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not that complicated as it looks, and all the stuff of neural networks
Mm.
and this stuff. It's actually pretty basic in knowledge. So the main thing is to know, of course, a little about programmation,
Yes.
which I'm starting to study actually.
Hmm.
So
Nice.
I'm taking the basics course,
Nice. So
and
maybe
after
the
that,
project I was proposing will happen in the future. Okay.
yeah, so that's possible. And so after that, it basically you need a good idea. I mean,
Mhm.
so that's the thing, the main thing. And the funny thing is that probably there are many good programmers, which uh, is programmers existing in English.
I think
Is
so.
it?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Programmer. Yeah.
And so probably there are some very good programmers with which know something about music too, right? But there are
Probably.
not good musicians which know something about programming.
Yeah,
That's
that's
something
very
missing.
rare.
So that will be interesting
Mm.
for uh, for research. Like if
Yeah.
I really get to understand the basic part, which is not so big, then I
Mm.
could really think about implementing something. Yeah, like the one that you said, it's amazing. I mean, it's already a cool idea, right?
Would be
You just
nice.
write something and it's cool. You play and you create one music, and maybe you can also download it after the game.
Yeah, oh, yes, yes, exactly.
Like you
Wow.
say, hey, I did a nice game, or oh, I did a nice music. It's a
Yes.
different way. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
I,
cool.
I think
That was cool.
basically this idea came kind of natural to me also from seeing the ColorGo server, right? Because
Yeah.
there it's already a similar idea where I think Go
Mhm.
players, and that goes for many games. But let's talk about Go players.
Mhm.
Um, when they play, the game becomes a very deep story. You know, like it has so much emotion attached to it. It's so, but it's very difficult to communicate that story to another person, right? Except to maybe
Mhm.
someone who is also really the same level as you in Go or something, right? But
Yeah, that's true.
it's a very it's an emotional story, and also it's kind of like a movie, but you know the words are difficult, and I
Yeah.
think the ColorGo server kind of creates a more vivid image of what's happening. You could probably even
Mhm.
do much more than they do, but it's a first step in that direction. And
Yeah.
then similarly,
Yeah,
you can do it
that makes sense.
with music. That you create this
Mhm.
different
Yes.
structure to communicate what is happening, right? That
Yeah.
illuminates the emotion that we all feel. So
Yeah, that would be very amazing.
yeah. Maybe also
yeah, indeed.
movies, like when you say this at the end of the game, you can download it. You could have something like after the game, you can download a movie that is made by the moves that you played, but like a movie about human beings or
Wow.
something, like that would be.
Wow.
That would be.
But-
I mean, the future. I mean, in the future, the possibilities
yeah,
will be endless, right? It will be.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm
Why not?
looking forward
That's
to this kind of stuff.
yeah. The word impossible. It's not anymore that clear. Like,
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah.
sure, man. Okay, so that's amazing. Like, really sounds cool. This composing, like, I mean, always to me, even when I just thought about composing, it always felt very nice. I saw composing happening a little bit because I'm living with the DJ, right? And so
Mhm.
he's I mean, it's a similar thing, right? Like he has all these layers, like 10,000 layers of
Yes.
different
Mhm.
instruments and different sounds. And then he
Yes.
always needs to be careful not to be too critical and go into every detail
Mhm.
immediately. Like he has to be patient a little bit and be like, okay, this is not perfect, but let's move forward a little
Of
bit more
course.
until I go into depth, right? And try to make all the details work. And it's a really interesting process because it's so like sometimes I would listen to him doing that, and then I would basically just tell him like, that one thing, shouldn't that be a little bit more like this, and that's exactly the process. It's just really random, and just like ideas pop into your head and you need to understand what they mean, and then you try to create something. What I'm wondering, so because to me, often when I write stories, when I write poems, when I watch him do his music, or also when I'm part of that process, to me it often seems like um it's somewhat creating something, but to some degree it's also just finding something that already exists. Like when I'm
Mhm.
writing a story, sometimes I'm like, no, this is not the story. It has this kind of
Mhm.
feeling the story already exists. And no,
Yeah.
with the sentence I'm writing, I'm going off the path. I'm
Mhm.
not inside the
Yeah.
story. So, and then I try to
I see.
discover the story. Is that similar to you?
Yeah,
What does
that's
that ring a bell?
interesting. I've been wondering often, like my question was like, does the originality really exist? Like, because I mean, I follow some intuition, like something
Mhm.
that I feel. But what is that intuition
Yes.
built on? It's just experience, like probably something that I already heard. And my feeling is that I want that to go in that direction because I already know that I like that direction because I already hear it. Maybe it was like 3 seconds in a bigger piece that I really don't remember.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's probably always something that there is something behind that you follow, and which makes you say this is good or this is not. So yeah, for me it's the same.
Mhm.
I can hear if something is it's wrong or good, even if I yeah, even if I see it and it looks good, and then I hear it, and that's for sure something you should look for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also really interesting because I see it in many people of very different disciplines that are talking about it in that way. Like, for example, when I look at people who are writing books, they very often talk about it in that way, or people who make movies, they talk about like, um, oh yeah, I didn't know what the character is gonna do, and at some point I understood, like they talk about it in that way, like
Yeah, yeah.
as if that character exists and they just
Yes.
don't know and they need to figure it out. Even though people from the
Uh,
outside usually talk about it in that way of like, oh, he created that character. But that's not how he
yes.
thought of it. He thought of it as he tried to understand the character. He didn't know the
Yeah. The,
character, and he tried
yeah,
to
yeah.
find
Like
out like, who is that guy? Who is that girl? what she's
True,
doing, what
true.
she's motivated by. I don't know. Let's just let it flow. Ah, yeah, she's doing that. Yeah, that's what she's doing. Okay, I understand it now. You know, it's like,
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Like if it's already existing.
mm.
Yeah,
and
this make
and to me, it's always interesting because there was one sentence that for a very long time I always was very curious about, and it felt very strong the first time I heard it, and then over time I saw all these examples where I thought it was exemplified, which was by Sokrates. The sentence is something like, all learning is remembering. Um,
wow, wow, that's amazing.
and so to me it's a very similar idea. It's like everything is there already, like in a maybe substructure of your brain or something, we could now say, like in a scientific way, um, that everything is there already, and
Ah,
to learn it is basically just to
remember it.
find it,
Yeah,
to remember it. You know, you were there
yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah. We have also a word exactly for that in Italian,
Hmm.
but which is reminiscenza. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
similar
yeah,
to
yeah.
something.
Reminiscent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a word
Yeah,
in English as well. Yeah,
I see. Which
yeah.
is
Similar
probably
word. I
yeah.
could guess there's a deeper meaning in the Italian version, but yeah, like
Yeah,
there's a connection for
yeah.
sure.
In Italian, it's exactly. It just comes from this Socrates
Mm.
thing. It's just connected to Socrates. This word,
Ah,
we
nice.
use it exactly for that kind of thinking.
Yeah, that's
It's
amazing. Yeah.
like it's yeah, it's when you remember something that it's already in yourself somehow.
Mm. Yeah, and it's really
Yeah, that's
interesting
interesting.
because it connects to so many things. Like, as far as I understand the idea of Brahman in Indian mythology, it's like, Brahman is kind of like God, you know, in a sense. But it's like, he wanted to forget that he's God, kind of, you could say. You know, he wanted it to be more interesting, you could say. So he split
Yeah.
up himself, and everyone he split up into, like everything he split up into, you know, everything that is now, he split up into, basically. Um, and the most important premise of everything is basically like the premise of an actor. Like, we are all trying to act as if we are not God, you know, as if we are not Brahman. So he basically informed everything he turned himself into, um, to be not him, you know, like, let's forget that I'm me, you know, like that's my main purpose. Like, that's everything I do from now on should basically make me forget that I exist, you know, like this kind of thing.
Wow.
And so to me that actually interlinks kind of well, because it's kind of like this idea that deeply we understand that we are everything, which kind of creates this notion that we know everything in a sense, because that's kind of what God does, right? And or
True.
what he does in that frame of reference. And um we are, in our normal existence, we are very deeply invested into this act, you know, of being me, you being you, you know, they being them, and forgetting who we really are. But in these moments, which are called the zone in some ways, or like other experiences in other ways, where we really lose ourselves, that's what people also often say, right? Like when they get deeply
Yes.
into something creative, they lose themselves, right? They lose this ego. Then they get the connection again, they remember again this deeper knowledge, and they connect themselves to this this knowledge they have ignored and forgotten, you know. So yeah,
Yes.
i
Yeah.
i kind of
That's true.
love how these ideas
Yeah,
interconnect.
that's mind blowing. That's really mind blowing.
To me definitely, like, I really enjoy, you know, like seeing the connections between very different, like, ideas that have been create it in different
Yeah.
realms, and understanding what it's all about, I suppose.
Yeah, that's I guess that's part of creativity, right? Right, like to connect stuff. And
Yes.
actually, uh, once I checked for the definition of creativity,
Mm-hmm.
which which now I definitely don't remember, but I just remember that it was amazing. Like just to search for a definition of the words in the dictionary, because you
Mm-hmm.
usually always search the words that you don't know.
Yeah.
But then if you search for the one that you know, that's
Yes.
quite interesting.
Yes, for sure.
Especially this words, special like fantasy, creativity, or color, or even
Yes, yes. No, for sure.
it can be, yeah,
Also, if you then go down the rabbit hole, right? Like, if you then look into like where does a word come from or something, and you go down like what did it mean in the past or something, because sometimes that
yeah,
will reveal something about the word that you were somehow you knew it, but somehow you didn't, in the word. Like,
yeah.
for example, one word that comes to my mind, that Jordan Peterson sometimes talks about. He's some psychology person from Canada that I enjoy.
I see.
Is sin. So the word
Sin,
sin, everyone knows
yeah,
it, right? But
yeah, the seven sins.
um, basically, he talks about that it, according to him, it comes from a Greek word, which is like hermaphrodita, or I don't know, something like that. Maybe I got
Ah,
it
you know,
wrong completely.
hermaphrodite. Okay, yeah, I see.
Um, no, but it's a bit different. Maybe yeah,
Nice.
it doesn't matter. Anyway, a
Okay.
Greek word,
Well,
which meant um, to miss the target, like a archery term from archery. Like from
ah,
people
ah, I
throwing
see.
bow, and
Oh,
it
I
meant
didn't.
to miss the target or to not hit bullseye. And to me, that's actually that's actually really amazing, because like that creates this whole notion of like a sin being you not really being you, right? Like you not hitting your
Yeah.
own target, you not going the path that you should go, and these kind of ideas, like
Mm,
it immediately creates
yeah.
this image, and that's a sin, that, and that creates also the opposite of that, right? Like the opposite of sin being like the virtuous life, let's say, right? And
Yeah.
creates this image that a virtuous life is basically you hitting the target, or at least aiming
Or
at the
being.
target, like, because the worst thing you can do if a sin is to not hit the target is to not even aim at anything, right? Like, because then you will
Yeah,
never hit the
true.
target, so you're immediately a sinner once you don't even try, right? So
Yes.
that immediately creates that, okay, you at least have to aim, right? And then maybe you even have to hit, but at least you have to try, right? And at least you have to visualize in your head who you want to be and what you want to do, and what you feel deep inside, and think about that, right? And so I
So,
love that, like, because the word sin, it's like I don't really know what it means, and then but when there's this deeper context, it's like, oh yeah, that gives me something.
so what will you think of as a target? So you think there's just being yourself or not yourself? What's the target?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. It's like I think there's this tension which we have immediately between like us being us, and also us being someone we aren't yet. Like I think we talk about it in both ways often, right? Like we say,
Mm,
I want to find myself, right? That gives the
yeah.
notion I am not yet me, right? In a sense, right?
True.
And I
Yes.
think
Yes.
both is kind of true, right? Like, so the target can be the one I really am, whatever that means, right? Or the target could be um like, sometimes maybe people have these deep moments, like moments that feel like, oh, in that moment I felt like myself, like in that moment I was really me, or like that was such a deep moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's
yeah,
true.
I think especially
Mm.
with music also you can have these moments, right? Like where you feel like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
man,
Absolutely. Like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. In music, it's very clear. It's very clear because because you have something in mind before playing, like as an instrument. You just like you have your own idea with music, and then you try to express yourself in that way, like your idea.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you hear the recording, and you just know that you are not expressing what way you're thinking while you are playing. Like it's not that just doesn't
Yeah.
how to say.
There
It's not,
was some disconnection or discordance or
yeah,
something like that.
exactly, from what you are thinking and what you play actually,
Mm.
which is interesting because
Yes.
probably it's the most difficult thing for an instrument. It's like be yourself. It's very difficult
Yeah.
because there is something that you hear, but you're not sure that will just go that way. Like when when you hear it from recording, and then that's really amazing stuff to improve. And I
Yeah.
study like that a lot. Like when
Mm.
I play flute, one of the things that I do the most is just recording and hearing, like in a fast sequence. Like I play and I hear, I play and I hear, since I don't catch up with my idea, like
Mhm.
what I'm thinking, since I'm not
Yes.
let's say targeting me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also basically this idea that you're going for, it's not like it's not fleshed out, right? Like you don't really know what it is exactly. Like you have to
Yeah, it's true.
try. You have to try to
Yeah.
find out in a way, right? And then by seeing the difference, you can come closer and closer, right? Like it's
Yeah.
this there's aim, and then you go forward, and then it's like, nah, it wasn't really right
Mm,
there. It was maybe more there, and then it's this
yeah,
whole
yeah,
process of like getting closer to it, right? And you have to
that's true.
you have to
But
like my sister has a really nice saying, I think, that I often remember in these kind of situations that I think is very helpful, which is also very similar to what I said before, um, which is that to her, um, all learning is or all understanding, etc., etc., is the breaking down of barriers, so that basically it's not necessarily this creation process, it's more that we limit ourselves through barriers from what we achieve, and all we have to do is not necessarily to get better, but just breaking down these barriers that hold us back in a way, which to me is also often something that I feel in these cases, that it's like when I breathe, maybe it breaks down some, like anxiety that was like, shrinking me in. And once then I
yeah,
breathe, then it's like, oh, I'm more free to do what I want to do, and maybe with music it's sometimes similar, that like
yeah, yeah. It's funny because some years ago, one of the biggest, I mean, the best flutist in the world was taking a masterclass, and I joined,
mhm.
and he told me something similar about the instrument. And maybe I can show you. Is that is there a possibility to there? If you maybe you can enable me to.
To
Oh,
what?
I don't hear you anymore.
You don't hear me? Do you hear me now?
Is there some connection problem?
You
Oh
hear
wait,
me now? Do you hear me now? Do you hear me now? Do you hear me
wait.
now?
Wait.
Nah, 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 mm, mm.
Um,
So I can take some water.
okay. What about now?
What about now? What
Oh
about
wait.
what about now?
Sorry, I'm getting closer to the solution. I think.
Sure.
Oh, ah, it's not working.
It's not working. I'm wondering why. So my PC tells me I am saying stuff and people can hear me. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
now
know.
I hear you.
Now you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Now
so
it
that's
works.
weird. So wait a second. Maybe I will click on chat again, and you tell me if you still hear me. Do you still hear me? Do you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so that's weird. Okay,
Yes.
okay, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what the problem was because I clicked on chat because I thought you wanted
So
to, and then I
maybe it's
thought,
just my connection.
did the
Wait,
connection
I'm
break
afraid.
because I clicked on chat, and then, but it seems it was
uh,
not connected.
maybe you can enable the sharing tool
To share
if you know
screen
how
or
to do
something.
it. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you can enable it to other Zoom, like, because right now only the host can share. It's not that. Okay. It's on the share stuff. Almost. Okay,
I
now maybe.
don't know how does it work. Sorry, it's like my first time.
Okay, so it's where is say share screen, then you can click on the little stick thing.
Yeah, of course, of course. Okay. Now I think I
Yes.
gave you.
Okay, so actually it's not really. So he said something like this, that when you start some flute, your learning is like this, but then at some point you find obstacles, let's say barriers,
Mm-hmm.
and then your learning becomes like this, because at some point you just understand something and you get in a on a
Mm-hmm.
higher level,
An
and
epiphany.
it continues. And I think this is like true in many subjects, like, because at the beginning you just learn all the basics and all the normal stuff,
Yeah.
and then you meet some barriers sooner or later,
Mm.
and then you have every time to go on and just get through it through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
so yeah. So I believe in this
Learning
barrier
is a
idea.
nice process.
True. Yeah. Definitely.
So when you were a kid, like when did it dawn on you that like um was it immediately that basically, oh, music is gonna be a really deep part of my life, or was it just, okay, music is gonna be a part of my life? Like was it always the case that you basically visualized yourself as making
As
this
a
more or
musician.
less your job or something, or like how did that or I guess the question I'm asking is like how did you visualize, or how did you imagine your life is gonna go as a kid?
that's that's interesting, because for sure I were in love with music very soon in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess as a kid, like very little kid, my first thing was, maybe I should become rich, and and all that stupid stuff. Maybe I will become a football player, stuff like that. And then yeah, I just didn't think about the future for a long time, like
Mm-hmm.
since high school, which is interesting if I think it right now, like
Mm-hmm.
how I was in those years, like thinking only at the present, enjoying
Mm-hmm.
the moment,
Oh, that's also
which is
nice.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was, yeah, probably I did like music very much, but I was not so sure about what to do in the future until the fourth grade of high school, I'd say, because then I started always to appreciate more and more the music,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had many ideas, like maybe I want to make soundtracks, film music and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was I was very fascinated by the world of cinema, movies, and the music for the movies. I think that's super interesting. Like because you have really to picture some
Yeah.
situations and stuff and emotions. It's really
That's
super
why I
cool
love
film.
Hans Zimmer, man.
Huh?
That's why
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love Hans
and
Zimmer.
sim. Yeah, true. I mean, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, so in the fourth grade years of high school, well, let's say I was always also fascinated by math and science.
Mhm.
So that was also very interesting for me.
Yeah.
And so I was not like mm, excluding the university studies. Like I was thinking maybe I'd like to go to universe. Like it's just normal, and you meet so much people and stuff. It's yeah, it's nice. Probably mm, nice road to go with.
Yes.
And but then the high school was not really not really that interesting. Like if I think
Mhm.
it now, it sounds just crazy to me. Like how could I not like literature and history and all the stuff? Actually,
Mhm.
it's there were plenty of super interesting subjects, which at the time just looked super boring, and
Mhm.
probably just because of how the school was. I mean, how the
Mhm.
education was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
I
often
think
for
it's
children like
yeah
that.
it,
Yeah.
yeah. Usually, it really depends on the teachers. Like
Mm.
you
Yeah.
can maybe you have a super good philosophy teacher, and then you say, haha, I want to make philosophy.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
I
yeah,
had
sure.
amazing philosophy teachers, so shout out to
Yeah.
them. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's normal, because in any of these subjects there is the spot for passion, and to find anything great, right?
mm.
So
Yeah.
the good teacher can show you that part of incredible interest in that subject.
Yeah.
And if you see it, then it's done, right? Then
Yeah.
you want to do that
And
because you
the
you get
bad
passion.
teacher
And
basically tells you, hey, you want to get a good grade in this so that you don't get kicked out of school.
yeah,
You know, that's
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's sad. Like
yeah.
yeah, then it lose interest. You lose passion for that subject. Even
Yeah.
even with math, like I
Mm.
did love math. Like it's super funny and stuff.
Yeah.
It's logical and everything. But really in high school I did barely study, like
Mm.
because my yeah, yeah, that's it, that's a lot. And so in that period the only thing I was very sure about was music,
Mm.
because it was, I mean, I had very nice teachers, and it was very funny to study music at the time. Like
Yeah.
let's say that maybe I was a little light in the study. Yeah, I was not like doing serious still, so I
Yes.
didn't know still the the real hard work
Yeah.
behind music. But still,
Yeah.
I just thought like, well, if university is like school, then I want to do music. Like I don't like this studies, and probably I can work with music and then study myself whatever is in my interest.
Mm.
And that's interesting, because right now I'm thinking the opposite way. Like maybe I could study something that brings money, and then just make music for fun, and that could be good too, right? Because to work with
Mm.
music is kind of complicated,
Mm.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in Italy especially,
Mm.
but that's, yeah, depend on about culture and stuff and situations. Like this situation is crazy. No more
And
concerts
also
and
changes, right? Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
think right now we are living in very what is it? Tumultuous times, very fragile, very very crazy,
yeah.
chaotic. And I think this also can lead to a lot of opportunities that we are not seeing right now. Like, just imagine countries reigniting their love for culture and investing a lot of money into musicians and artists and like this kind of stuff, who knows, maybe that could
Yeah,
happen. And
yeah,
if
for
that
sure.
happens, then
Or what about the IE? If the AI just becomes super good at music and
that's true.
and starts playing flute, and then
Yes,
it's screwed
that's
up.
yeah, I have no idea. Then maybe everyone wants to hear AI do music, and there's just there's just a few weirdos, like weird people who are like, no, I want to listen to a human play, and
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's like,
Oh,
what
what?
the fuck?
Lumia music.
Is
Yeah,
that even
yeah, I see.
music?
Yeah, that could be. And
I have no idea. I have no idea. I like, these are really complicated questions, I think. Like, how will humanity react to that? And I also don't
so
know how long it will be until AI is like super good at this. Like,
yeah,
because like recently I did
you're
see a
right.
YouTube channel, like maybe you know them. They are like two guys who are like looking at music together, and they also looked at some AI that made a composition,
Mhm.
like a classical music composition, and they were like,
Oh,
wow, this is really good. And it also sounded really good, but that's just a one-off, right? And I don't know if like the AI was only trained to make like one thing, and then yeah, I just don't
that
know
makes
how
sense.
far it is away from being like super good, or like just localized or not. Like,
Yeah, it's difficult to guess, right? Because
mm,
I mean, many times you just think it's gonna come like 30 years later, and then
mm,
it's the next day.
yeah,
So with this technology stuff, like was
yeah,
yeah, like AlphaGo. I mean, who
yeah,
no one
exactly,
expected that. Yeah,
exactly. Like,
and
listen to this. Just
yeah,
3 years, I think. No, 4 years. Yeah, I think 4 years
yeah,
before AlphaGo beat Fan Hui,
uh-huh.
I was the guy to play against the bot in Bonn at the
Wow,
EGC.
uh-huh.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was a pair go thing. So I played with a
Ah,
weaker bot, and the other guy played with the strongest bot at that point, right? And I mean, I just crushed it, right? Like,
of course,
like, it was
of
just
course.
so weak in comparison. Like, I mean, it was like two done or something, right? Something like that. But
Yeah, yeah,
just like,
yeah. I
its
remember.
reading was like so bad. Like, in every fight, I would just crush it completely, And then
Of
4 years
course.
later, I would have no chance ever to, like,
Yeah, yeah, that's something
it's really
unbelievable.
funny.
So,
It's really
but
funny.
so actually, returning to the
Yeah.
previous question, like when you think like what I will do in the future, then I think mainly when we are young, uh, we don't really know what that will be like. If I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you are lucky and you know some person that already made that choice and
Hmm.
can advise you. So in the case of music, that's very common. Like that your parents are very good musicians and they just know what to do to become just to make the right decisions.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean my main dream was to make soundtracks and music,
Nice.
but then I realized that what I wanted to do is so much different from what I expected it
Hmm.
to be. Like because you probably think like, yeah, there is Hans Zimmer and he just comes in a room with his piano,
Yeah.
looking at the movie, and he composed like seeing the expressions of the actor and stuff. But then you see at the end of the movie, like soundtrack, in the thousands of names, like and Zimmer.
Yeah.
There is he too. He maybe write little stuff and then everyone put the hands and works together.
Mm.
So it's very complex, like the music making for the movies,
Yeah.
and so much that I don't know how much like Hans Zimmer is there in the soundtrack by Hans Zimmer,
Mm-hmm.
and he also work a lot with computers and programs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even just that, uh, it's very complex because you have to learn many stuff. I mean, nowadays, let's say that music from films is almost always with computers. Like it's very rare to see it's an entire soundtrack with the orchestra, with just normal orchestra. That's just not anymore the case.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine.
so, but apart from that, let's say that still I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to somehow to enter in this field. Then it's, for example, in Italy, it's, let's say it's almost impossible. Like
Mm.
I for sure I have to travel away. I have to go in America probably, because like here almost no one does that. And if you really manage to write music for the cinema and stuff or whatever else, you need to make many contacts and to talk with people and do stuff like not connected to music, like
Yeah. Yeah.
not really. So yeah, it's when I realized that I was discouraged probably.
Mm.
And yeah, I realized that the idea is great, but doing it is not the same. Like it's not as great as hearing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, so I changed many times my idea of what I want to do. And before and also now, it will be great to work in an orchestra like, as a flutist. But let's say, yeah, I love to play in the orchestra. Okay, that's true. So that's big part of the reason. But uh, also I learned that I liked many stuff, many things, many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So that work will bring me tons of free time, and that's something that I consider a lot. Like if I have free time, then I'm very even more happy to make that job. Like
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not sure I only want to make music. Like for example, why not study Go? Like yeah, that's really interesting too. But
Yes.
right now, yeah, it's just doesn't make so much sense for me to study Go, and while my career is not still, like
Yeah.
at that
While you're
point.
in your last year
Yeah.
of studies. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, probably now I'm focusing on music because
Yeah.
yeah, because it's just the stuff that I did the most, and probably I can work with it,
Mm.
and I am working with it a lot at this moment.
Yeah.
Like now I'm teaching. I've so many students, and also teaching in a middle school,
Oh wow, nice.
which is like not my for sure my final goal,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I don't know.
could be also. I
But
mean,
is it
everything
fun?
could be.
Like is it does it
You see
fulfill
it?
you
Yeah.
in a way?
Yeah. Actually, I love to teach,
Mm.
and mainly because I don't see teaching uh, as somewhere where one teach and the other learn.
Yes.
But I think both learn a lot.
Yeah.
Like even me, when I
Beautiful.
teach, I I have to understand much more than just when I learn. When I learn, then I get information and I work on that. But when I teach, it's much different because I have to understand much more and much deeper the subject
Yes.
to be able to really understand how to express it with the other students.
Yeah.
So I have to understand when they are doing something wrong. why, what is happening, and how they are doing it wrong. And then many times I realized that I'm doing it wrong too, like, and I
Yeah.
just didn't realize yet.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a really interesting part of teaching.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really, yeah, I love that. Like I'm like back when I went to Go tournaments, right? I would often be kind of the teacher at the Go tournament, right? Because I would often be the
True.
strongest person in Germany, or like at the German tournament or something. And
Yeah.
I would review games and this kind of stuff. And usually to me, it's very similar. Like or even more so maybe that I'm also learning when I'm teaching. Like not only am I learning how to teach, right, from the feedback I get, and like understanding more
Yeah.
deeply how to give information to other people, or what's the more important concept maybe to teach, right? Like is it really
Yeah.
so important to teach them don't push from behind, or is it maybe more important to teach some more fundamental rule that
Yeah.
creates the sentence, that like is connected to that sentence or something, and then I have to understand that myself, right? And then it's like a almost a philosophical question, and I'm like,
Yeah. 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 That's
and
it.
and also with Go, and I don't know if that's as much the case with music or not, but with Go, my experience always has been that like I might be better, like on average, than the person I'm teaching, but like there's very rarely the case that they don't do like in a whole game, let's say, that I'm reviewing, even of a 10Q or 15Q or 5Q or whatever. Like it's very rarely the case for me, at least, that there's not one move where I'm like, I wouldn't have played this move, and then it's like, oh, but that move is better than the move I would have played. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
like even though
Yeah.
there's
That's
maybe
true.
even a big difference in strength theoretically, it's very often that I can learn something from them, and so that's
Yes.
why I really
Yeah.
love it, because it also forces me out of some arrogant mindset of like I'm stronger. It forces me to be open to being wrong as well, right? Like so
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Many times it happened.
Mm,
And also, as you said, many times you can say something without saying like directly it. So
mm,
being creative is also part of being teacher. Like
yeah.
there are, especially in music, it's very often that you give uh, some pictures and imaginative stuff
Hmm.
to who is playing. Like sometimes it's just try to think. Like for example, one of my teachers told me, try to imagine a little red point on the wall in front of
Uh-huh.
you, and try to play all the sound toward it. Like try to play like if your sound must reach that point.
Uh-huh.
So I just try to focus and imagine that red point in my room, and try to
Hmm.
play to it. And of course,
Wow.
it doesn't technically make sense, right? It's not that you're telling me what to do,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but still,
It's really
uh,
funny because it's
still,
very, very similar to what I said earlier, right? Like with thinking
yeah,
the aim, right?
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And but it's funny because it worked, because I was just for first thing, my posture was better. Like I was
Mm.
looking straight, and I
Hmm.
was not like this, which is not good for flute.
Hmm.
I was looking straight the point, and
Yes.
also the way I blow the air, I try to blow directly to that,
Ah,
which changed the direction where I'm blowing,
yes.
and which changed everything in the flute.
Yeah, that's
So
that's a really
actually,
good tip.
just yeah, this little red point was changing a lot in my playing,
Funny.
and yeah, it's very funny and and creative somehow.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very creative and very good tip, and it can also show you as an educator, like you're never done. Like, like you can always find
Exactly.
a better way to teach
Yeah,
something, right? Like
yeah,
there's
yeah. Because
always
maybe
a more creative way to teach something, right? Like there's always a better expression or picture, or And also for
True.
every different student, right? Like for every different student, there might be a different
Yeah,
picture that
that's
might
even
help them. And so even if you find the right picture to help somebody, you're not
yeah,
done. Like you're not finished,
yeah,
like you
yeah, that's
can't be
true.
like, oh yeah, now I know how to teach students. No, no, no. Like,
Yeah, and then you say the same thing to everyone and doesn't
yeah,
work.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So that's
yeah,
beautiful.
that's true.
So that's what you're doing right now, basically. Like, how many times a week are you teaching?
How many times? Uh, let's say I don't teach in the, well, sometimes I don't teach in the weekend, but the
Mhm.
rest of the days I teach a lot.
Wow.
Really, a lot. What, I had something in mind, but I forgot it. That's that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So almost every, so
And
basically every day, every work day. You're
yes, yes, yeah. And usually, yeah, I have many students every day, like different students.
mm.
That's it.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. So where do you want to go from here then? Like, now you're almost done with the studies, and so what paths does that like open up? Let's say, like, for you, or which ones do you want to go, or do you want to do something else entirely, or like,
Ah,
yeah.
well, so the main idea will still be to try and make many audition to try and enter in an orchestra,
Nice.
which is for sure like
The
the,
Orchestra of Rome, basically, or
oh no, that could be anywhere in
ah,
Europe,
okay, anywhere.
maybe Europe would be better, like I
Nice.
would prefer.
Yeah, come to
Because
Bonn. I don't know if we
yeah.
have a good orchestra, but maybe in
I don't
Cologne
know.
is a good orchestra. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, for sure, Germany has tons of good orchestras. It's
Uh-huh.
very good place for music. And so, yeah, just I will probably try that
Hmm.
and see how it goes, because it's very subjective, and you need many tries before getting an idea of how much you can do it,
Mm,
because it's the competition is super high. It's like, in orchestra you have maybe two or sometimes three flutes, not more,
mm.
but you have
Yeah.
thousands of flutists in Europe,
Mm,
and
yeah.
so every time you have to somehow to compete, even if I don't ever think of it as a competition with the others.
Mm,
My idea to just to manage to do it, it's to compete with myself. Like anytime I go, I just try to see if I'm doing better than the last time, and
yes.
that's I think that it's the best way to face it,
Yeah,
because
it's perfect.
yeah, because just makes sense. I mean, you cannot change the others, like you can change yourself.
I mean,
so
you
so
can, but
why?
it's usually not very moral to do so,
Yeah,
like you can drug
usually it's
every
not,
other flutist in
yeah,
the
usually it's
Western
not legal.
hemisphere, and then, oh, they're all sick. Oh, what a
No,
coincidence. I'm the only
what
one
is
left.
left? Yeah, but actually, yeah, that even doesn't work, because in their orchestras, if they don't find someone that they like, they just don't take anyone, and repeat the audition.
So
So
that
even
would be
like
really
that,
funny. Like you drug
yeah,
everyone, and then you go
yeah,
there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they're like, "Now we don't take you."
No thanks. What?
All for nothing.
And then you have to drag also the judge, and
Judge, yeah.
yeah, and then maybe it works.
Somehow you could probably make it work, but I guess you're trying a slightly different approach than that
Probably, yeah. For now,
for now.
at least for for 2 more years, and so yeah. Now I'm still trying to understand if I can do it. Like
Mm,
if I'm able to be in the competition, like to be competitive somehow.
yes.
Which so I'm still studying, and the things I see is that no matter, I mean, how much I get older, and also maybe, somehow it's more difficult to improve,
Hmm.
but still I see many improvement in my studies,
Nice.
and that's the only thing that for now counts. Like, if I
Yeah.
continue improving, then I will not stop, let's say. And so for the moment, I just continue and see if that's the case, because it's also possible that I get the best version of me in the best day where everything's going the
Yes.
right direction, and they say no.
Yeah.
And then I just say no too. Okay, then
Yes. Yes.
I feel okay, like.
Yes.
And there are so many possibilities, like, of course the teaching is a possibility. That's, for now, it's not, I mean, it's not my goal,
Hmm.
but not because I don't like teaching. Let's say just I don't like all the stuff to do before teaching. Like, it's not
Hmm.
only, I mean, you have to make so much, even some course to
Yeah. Yeah.
be able to teach,
Yes.
and that will take much time that right now I just don't want to spend on that, since I can afford to to try
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get the higher
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. At least usually,
But
right? Because
yeah.
obviously with every part of these streams, you could then think of a different way of doing it than other people, which
Yeah,
might make
yeah, that's
these
true.
kind of things that you don't like less, right? Like because
Yes. Yeah.
for example, immediately one person comes to my mind, which is he's called Ben CB. He's like a poker player.
Uh-huh.
And he basically was talking about maybe a similar issue, which was that it takes a lot of time to even find someone that he likes teaching, that is motivated enough that he also has a lot of fun doing it, because he will get a lot from it. And he
Yeah.
always needed to put a lot of time into even finding someone, and that was the more difficult part of it, basically, than the teaching part, which was really fun for him. But he then created some other system where he would have people write to him letters of motivation, basically, and then he would have a much after doing that he would have a much easier time of finding someone who actually fits with who he wants as a person. And also it became much easier for him because everyone was writing to him and he didn't have to make calls and do
Yeah.
so he found
Yeah.
a system for him, and I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
poker, but maybe
Yeah. I
um
guess it's
for
can be
example,
similar. Yeah.
maybe similarly, for him, obviously it became easier also because he became a YouTube kind of personality, and so people, found him and then would be motivated to write to him, right? Because he was not only because he was good, but also you could see he was good from YouTube, right? And
Yes.
so similarly, maybe if you have a video online of your music or something, or your process maybe, or your thinking behind it, then maybe, and then you say to people, hey, if you want to have me as a teacher, write me a letter of motivation, because I only want to teach people who are motivated, or whatever you want, right? Like, I don't know what you want, right?
Yes.
Um but
I
whatever,
see
right?
the points.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes you can make the problems that you have less, right? If you first invest, I guess, a bit more time, but then maybe over time you need to invest much less because yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure, you can find a way. I mean, to put the practice into work.
Yeah.
Like, if yeah, I mean, I already know probably enough stuff to find some works on my own and do stuff. So probably right now it's just that I'm still working on myself, and
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm focused
Exactly.
on improving, and that's
Yeah.
why I still don't want
Yeah.
to focus on any work. Let's say.
I totally understand that. Like, yeah,
Mm.
for sure. I think also that's good. Like, yeah, I think that's good. Like, while you still basically want to maybe also find your peak in a way,
Mhm. Yeah,
and you don't
definitely.
think you're there yet, and you at least want to have tried it in a way, right? Like, you at least wanted to go for
Yeah,
that
to
first, and then because that also can help you if at some point you do mainly teaching or whatever, right? Then
Mhm.
you have this really big depth of experience, right? And you don't
Yes.
start too early to do that mainly while you haven't you don't even
Mhm.
have the feeling, like, it's also an emotional thing, like you want to have had that feeling of like, I tried to give it my all, and I went
Yeah.
all the way, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
So I like that.
And also, yeah, I think uh, it's very important to, even when you teach the basics, like the real basic, like from zero, then
Mm,
it's important to be already at a very high level as a teacher, like because
yeah.
it's very, you can say just the basic stuff, but in so many ways that you have to know already how it is in the end. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's like in Go when you think of the end of the game
Hmm.
during the first phase of the game. Like
Yeah.
if you already know some stuff, then you can make different choices.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes. Yeah, for
even
sure.
in
For sure. It's
beginning.
very helpful. It's very helpful. To that, actually, there's a funny saying. Like, once Lee Chang-ho was asked after, maybe, I think it was after he won his first world championship or something, and he was
Oh
like
wow.
17 or something back then,
Yeah, it
right?
was very young.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And he
17.
was
Yeah.
basically asked, how much moves do you read ahead? And he gave the
Hmm.
most thug life answer I've ever seen a Go player give in an interview ever.
Really?
He answered that every move he's, I think, looking at 20 different variations up to the end of the game.
What? What?
I think he was like kind of joking, but it's really a funny answer, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but of course there's something to it,
Yeah. I
like,
think.
even if that was an exaggeration, right? Like,
Mhm.
I hope, I really sincerely hope it was an exaggeration, but because otherwise I should stop playing golf for sure. But um, it's um, it's this kind of idea, right? That to really have a good understanding of what's the right frame of reference in a given moment, you should have in the back of your mind the end game, the end goal, the bigger
Yeah.
picture kind of thing, right? So
Yes.
um,
Yes. Yeah.
that's very useful.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I can believe the statement thinking about the style of the player because he was really focused about the end game, right?
Yes, yes.
So it makes sense that he was thinking more about that. Maybe he was, like, let's say, less precise
Mm,
in the close fighting
yes.
because, but he was already reading forward because actually,
Yeah.
maybe 10, how is it, like 20 sequence till the end, maybe a lot, but 20 sequence is not a lot. Like you
Hmm.
can in two moves you can already have hundreds of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sequence, right?
yeah, 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 of course.
So
like
it's possible,
I
I
mean,
think.
also, like, this was obviously like written down in a newspaper, and like we don't know what
Yeah.
exactly he was asked. This is English
Yeah, that's true.
translation. Did he really answer this, or like it's more funny than, like, I cannot criticize him for it or anything, because it's like, who knows what he
Yeah.
really meant, right? Like, maybe he did mean something like, that for him it's useful to, like, have very imprecise understanding, like, just be very random, maybe like he really looked that far ahead, but just he was aware that almost all the moves he was thinking about were not necessarily correct or something. They were just the feeling and first feeling for every move and up to the end, and he was good at visualizing that, maybe,
Yeah.
and but through that he just got a good judgment call of like the different ways the game could go from this point on or something, and I do understand that. Like sometimes I do something similar, even though I don't go up to the end. But like
Yeah.
um,
But
I
you
do
like to imagine, like.
I do something similar where I'm like going ahead, like let's say
Mhm.
5 or 10 different variations, 50 moves or something, but very random. Like very
Yeah,
first feeling, every move first feeling, more or less, and then just
that makes
okay,
sense.
if I play this move and then every move first feeling, that would create such a game, and then if I play this and every move first feeling, that would. And to me, that also sometimes helps in doing that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So I could relate to that. So, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
not everyone needs to be as good as Lee Chang Ho, I suppose. So that's also
Yeah, true.
it's also fine. So what is like speaking of like this visualization process, I suppose it's like do you think there's something maybe let's start off with how did you start to play Go actually? Like how did that come up in your life
Hmm.
and become
That's interesting.
such a cool
Well,
part of it as well?
hmm. I, well, from when I was a kid, let's say, well, I start from being a kid because I
Mm-hmm.
was, let's say, already into this kind of board game, strategical board game,
Mm-hmm.
because I started, of course, with chess, which is popular in Italy,
Yeah.
and so, and also checkers, which maybe it's less common, but in Italy
Mm-hmm.
also is very popular. And then I have this childhood friend, which is Japanese, and he introduced me to shogi, which
Ah.
is still not Go,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
still something quite
getting
different.
getting closer.
Yeah, getting step by step. And also he introduced me to the manga culture,
Mm.
and which is where I found, of course, Ikaru no Go.
Ah,
And
Hikaru no
now,
Go.
yes, it's always Ikaru. Yeah, I'm just trying to hide that it's simply
Yes.
Ikaru no Go story.
So I was a
The most
kid and I
common.
played chess,
So
but then I
yeah,
played
and then
shogi and
Ikaru no Go.
checkers and well, there was something about Hikaru no Go, but it's mainly it's a very
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
story.
Yeah, and then Ikaru no Go. So, but yeah, I read Ikaru no Go, and then I asked, of course, my friend, like, hey, why didn't you tell me about Go? I saw that's Japanese too, right? And he said, yeah, Go. I heard about Go,
Mm.
and we started to learn together.
Ah, nice.
We tried because he read the manga too,
Mm-hmm.
so we both read the manga, and it was actually funny how I learned the rules of Go. That's
Mm-hmm.
and funny and maybe a bit crazy because I read the manga, and so I it's like how much 300 chapters,
Maybe
and so
I.
at the end, yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, I see it, and I finished and think, okay, now I can play Go because I read the manga,
Yes.
and I go in on internet and search for Go server, and I find something very weird that doesn't exist anymore. It was like
Animex?
Yahoo,
Ah,
huh?
Yahoo.
Yahoo Go server, yeah, something like that, because Yahoo had many games and also Go.
Oh,
So I started there, and I started putting stones, and I realized that I have no idea how the game works. Like, really, no idea. Like, I saw the stones disappearing, and
yeah.
it was a shock. Like, why? What's happening here? And I had no clue, but I was, yeah, I
That's
didn't feel
everyone's
good about.
first games though, right? Like
Yeah.
watching
It's like,
watching your stones disappear, the whole board
yeah,
being like at some point it becomes like this weird version of one color Go, where theoretically you play with two colors, but at the end one color disappears
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's true. So I changed the Go server and I came up to Kurnik, which is Polish Go server,
Uh-huh.
and which is now called Play OK. Maybe it's more famous now. It's now it's called like that.
Uh-huh.
And of course, everyone talked in Polish, so I didn't understand anything, and I still didn't get the rules. Like it was, and I, looking at the time, I don't understand why I didn't look for the rules. Like why didn't I try to search the rules? And but then I found an Italian player in that server, and I told him I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I don't know the rules, and he was so kind that he started teaching me the rules.
Oh, that's nice.
So from time to time, I started understanding, and then we found another guy in the server, an Italian guy, which was stronger than this one, and
Mhm.
which was our master, total master,
Mhm.
because he always started with the Tengen, so the
Ah.
central, yeah, and he always win. And so it was so cool, like because he started with Tengen, it was what unbelievable.
Nice.
And I remember that, yeah. So I just continued from that, and when I learned the rules, finally I teach those to my friends, so to my Japanese friend and also another friend,
Mm.
and so we also start praying together from live, which was cool.
Mm.
And then finally we had the idea, like, what if there are other people who play Go in Rome? Like Rome is a big city. Maybe some other people knows Go.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. And we searched, and immediately we found Rome Go Club, and we
Nice.
were like, "Whoa, we should go and play," because now it was already 6 months that we play together, and we improve a bit.
Yeah.
Like we can read the two move sequence, and so
Ooh.
we feel invincible. Like we are just because we play together, and I was the stronger between those three,
Mm.
so I felt like I'm invincible.
Nobody can
Like
beat me now.
of course.
I'm gonna go
And
to the
also we
Go
go to
Club
the
and just teach
we go to the Go
everyone.
Clan. And we enter and we see people playing Go with real boards, with real stones, and that's already shocking. Like, oh my god, it's real, like it's happening. And then we asked the ranking, right? And I started also playing on KGS that period, so I knew that I was thank you
Mhm.
about on KGS,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is not bad, right?
Yeah,
It's
not
not
bad.
definitely not bad. Like I can
Yes.
read some sequence, and so they tell us their rankings, and there was like this 5Q, 4Q, and there is one done, and so of course I was the stronger. Then I had to play with the one done, right? And we start to play, and yeah, my idea was like, thank you, I'm here, one done is maybe here, like I can do it, like thank you, one done, what's the difference? It's 10 numbers. Like I have no idea. So yeah, I remember that I lost like 2 games in a row without understanding anything. And actually it's interesting that I really remember those games.
Mhm.
They are quite impressed in my mind.
Yeah.
And not only that, I when I remember the old games that I played,
Uh-huh.
I also remember what I was thinking while making the moves,
Wow, that's cool.
and that's surprising. Like
Yeah.
because I clearly remember that. I mean, that game finished that I had the side, like the territory, and
Mm.
he made all the center, like enormous center.
Mm.
And I remember that while I was doing the moves, I was looking only at the side. I was really not looking at the board. I
Mm.
was really focused on where my move is
Yeah, yeah.
and what is around that move, which was my way of playing, like just reading the small sequence
Mm.
locally.
Yes, yes.
And thinking of it now, it's so strange, right? I mean,
Mhm.
how can I not look at the board while playing?
Yeah.
How can I see the general position?
Mm.
And yeah, every game was like that that day. And I was like, okay, I made territory. Ah, wait, he made center. Okay, let's count. I'm losing by 100. And I'm surprised, like, oh, what? Really? 100? Like, how is that possible? I did something. Like, I was winning all the local fight. I had the
Mm.
territory. Yeah, that's crazy. How much you can change your thinking.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Actually, yeah, I have also one interesting story about my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and which is actually not only my let's say about my life, because it started when I was 10 years old. And when I was 10 years old, I remember that I was always upset when the older people treat me as a kid, let's say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
as someone who don't understand
Yes.
stuff. And so I was so upset that I told myself, like, when I get older, I want to remember that at the age of 10, one can already be smart, can have some intelligence and think
Yes.
properly. That's what was my thinking, and I wanted to remember this so that I don't make the same mistake.
Yes.
And it was so intense that I really remember it.
Mm.
So uh, when I was like 21 years old, for some reason, like I was cleaning the house, and I found something very old, like some stuff, like some, how you call it, text from school.
Uh-huh.
Like you have to some writings, like
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
some writings.
Yes.
And I was very curious, because
Yeah.
because then something turned on in my mind, like, hey, I remember that I was smarter when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how smart I was. And I start reading all these writings.
Mm.
And at the end of it, I just think, oh my god, I was an idiot. Like, like I was very stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it was mind blowing. Like, because you can still think you are smart and not being at all.
Mm.
But
Yes.
so my conclusion was that when you're 10 years old, you can think to be smart. That's true. Like, you can already understand what smartness is, and feel and feel that you can think properly. But then you, of course, improve that skill. And so it
Hopefully,
looks,
hopefully. I think many people
hopefully,
don't
yeah.
improve from that point, but yeah. Some do.
Maybe,
Some are
hmm.
lucky enough to. But
But still, yeah.
are you sure about that? Like, are you
No,
like when you looked at the stuff you wrote,
yeah.
um, um, because like at least there's a flaw that some people definitely encounter, that because thinking might be so different that they had when they were a kid, they
That's
just
true. Yeah.
see it as stupid, even though it was just a
Mhm.
little bit different, let's say. And like what I see
Yeah.
very often, at least, is that people, and what I think is also a big mistake, is that people overly criticize their youth, and thereby
Yeah.
like they neglect everything that happened back then, like back when I was young I was so stupid. And also what I see very often, what I think is even worse from that, is when people, through that thinking, they excuse being very disrespectful and
Mm.
unkind with children in general.
Ah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
back when I was a kid, I was also so stupid, and then,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
this kind of stuff. So I think at
Yeah.
least from that, one has to be a bit careful not to, like, uh, I guess not to do either of those things, right? Not to like
Mhm.
what is it, like glorify your youth, like being like, oh yeah, I was the smartest person for all my
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
and when I was a child I was the smartest, and then I was as a teenager, I was the smartest, and then of course as an adult now, I'm also the smartest, and not to overly glorify, but also not to overly criticize, so that you can also learn from what you thought earlier and like this kind of stuff. Like,
And actually,
yeah,
actually, one point of view is that I mean, seeing at my writing probably is not could be not precise like in deciphering like the smartness of the kid, right? Because I mean, writing is still it's not your talks, right? It's trying to express your talks, which
yes,
is
yes,
something that also we just learn. Like you don't know how
yes,
to do it
yeah,
from the start. So I probably cannot really understand how smart I was since from that. It's
yes,
like
yes,
you always have to find a way to understand people. And I don't know, there are many famous sentences about this, but the main
mm-hmm.
idea is that like you cannot see how good a musician is if you play football with it, let's say.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that, yeah.
No,
So
I
yeah,
understand.
probably
So I think basically your point is, and I mean, I think your point is also fair. It's an interesting thought, right? Like that you had an image of how smart you were, or also in which way you were smart, basically, and
yeah,
that definitely didn't fit with what you found, right? Like I
yeah,
guess
but
that's
probably I mean I could still be smart
yes,
and I wouldn't know. Let's say I should trust myself first. Just that's the only thing that I'm still doing. Like
mm,
I just remember that I remember that I talk to be smart, and that I
yes,
respect. Like because that could be it. I mean, and so when I talk with the kids, my usual approach is just to consider them so smart,
mm,
and I
yes,
told them never as kids. Like I
nice,
just treat them like adults, and I see that they just are okay with it. Like
yes,
actually they are really okay. Like they like it,
yes,
and they talk in a serious way somehow.
yes.
And it really works with teaching and with living, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
So
super helpful. Like I really try hard. Like I have a nephew, right, with whom I spend a lot of time, and
yeah.
he's now 9 or 10, and
So here you
no,
go.
10 or 11, and I feel it's always very important for me to treat him like I treat other people, which sometimes means being very harsh, but being very honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Of course.
sometimes he's really annoying, and I have to tell him like, "Hey, you're really annoying. I don't want you
Yeah,
around
yeah.
right now. Can you please fuck off?" Right? And I tell him that as honestly as I can, because it's like that's what I feel,
Of
and I
course.
like I think what many adults do is they don't say that kind of thing, but instead they become really resentful, generally speaking, and just they give off this vibe to the person, and then the child doesn't even know what to do about it because they never tell him what to do about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? They're not honest with him, right? And
True.
and my nephew, like I tell him that a lot, right? Like because he's often annoying, right? So one
Yeah,
could
yeah, of
think
course.
he would hate me, right? One could think that because I'm telling him he sucks so much and he's annoying so much that he would hate me, but it's the opposite, right? Like he really likes me. He always likes to see me, and because he knows that when he's with me, I'm gonna tell him when he's doing something wrong. I'm gonna be straightforward, and also when I'm spending time with him, I want to spend time with him, because if I don't want to, I will tell him fuck off, right? So he
True.
knows that I'm not like I don't know, feeling forced to spend time with him or something, right? So that also makes it special.
Sure.
And so I think always these kind of approaches are really important in dealing with adults and with children, to be honest and to treat them respectfully, right? But respectfully also means to
Yeah,
criticize. Like
exactly. Yeah.
being respectful means, if I think you're being very disrespectful, then I'm not gonna be disrespectful to you, but I'm gonna be really harsh on you, you know, like I'm gonna tell it in your face,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this is really not okay what you're doing, right? This is not
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Like this is really, to me, this feels like it's going far to whatever, right? Like, and that can be
Mhm.
very, very brutal, right? Like that can be really difficult to say. Sometimes I have
Yeah,
to kind of force myself to say it, you know, when I feel it, but um,
yeah. I see what
it's
you
very
mean.
necessary sometimes, like because sometimes, like especially kids, sometimes they do really bad shit, right? Like he sometimes, you know, like hits his sister or something, right? Or is
Mm.
like, I don't know, like just lying a lot or whatever, right? Like for example, I play with him table tennis a lot, and so at the start when we started playing,
Uh-huh.
he would often lie, you know, like he would often say like, no, this was in, you know, always try to get the point, right? And I would tell him, you know, like I would
Yeah,
grab
yeah.
his hand, you know, and like you don't need to lie. Stop lying. Come on, we're playing for fun, and this is a respectful thing. Come on, let's have some fun, right? And I would, you know, like throw him off, you know, and
Yeah.
I would maybe like throw him in the
So
air, you know, and like hold him down and like have some fun with him, right? Like he would also, I would like, I think also importantly when you're being a little bit aggressive to a child, or like what is it, like you could even say violent, let's say, right? Like maybe I was a little bit violent, you know, and I'm sometimes a little bit violent with children, then but what I think is often important is they can also be violent towards me, you know, and I accept it. And like it's kind of like a rough and tumble play. I don't know if you know it, but like in animals that's also very often that like animals they throw each other on the ground, and like um sometimes the stronger animal will let the weaker animal win, you know, because
I
just
see.
just
Yeah.
just out of being nice, you know, it's a cultural thing. And so similarly, you know, like with a child, you know, like sometimes I will hold him, you know, because sometimes I need to restrain him, like from I don't know, like hitting his sister or like doing stupid shit or whatever. Or maybe I just want to show him that this is a serious issue, right, that we're dealing with right now, and he cannot leave, right? We need to talk it through or whatever, right? Like I want to make it serious. And but then also I need to, like, I think I need to respect when he's thinking the same thing, let's say, and he you know, like hits me or something, like, because I'm strong enough, so every time he hits me I could make him unable to go on hitting me, right? I could do
Yeah.
that, but I think that would be terrible. Like sometimes I let him hit me for like a minute, you know, like because maybe I went too far, like maybe I went too far, right? I don't know. And
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
after a minute, you know, like of hitting me or like of dragging me down or like of you know, like whatever, you know, at some point, and he will usually not go too far, you know, he's just, you know, like letting out his emotions in a way. Usually he
Yeah.
doesn't go too far with me, but at some point he stops, and then he can take a breath, and usually when I see that he stops, I will take a deep breath, you know, I will be like, and then he will do the same thing, you know, he will mirror me, right? And he will also, and then we both took a really deep breath, and then you know, we hug each other, you know, and then, you know, it's resolved. And so it's really beautiful, you know,
Sense.
like to see this kind of like where like, because I really, I don't know, I don't treat him like a child, like I'm not really easy on him, but we can share these kind of moments where we're really harsh on each other, or like, but also having fun, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's for sure the best.
And I think it also stems in me from a similar point that you said, right? Like when I was younger, I had many moments in my life where I felt like I was treated very badly because I'm just young, and
Yeah.
I felt very disrespected because also I thought I was really smart. I still think I was pretty smart when I was young, and so it was really important for me always to not forget that you should treat people independent of their age, let's say, and you should see everyone as an individual. And for me,
Yeah.
then I had a very positive experience later on, because I felt like in school, basically, it was like this really bad thing where people would usually treat me in a stupid way, I would think, and teachers would not really be that respectful, and they would also not be like, often I had teachers that were unfortunately very set in their belief, like, so they would have for example, my history teacher, he would say like, Second World War, Germans bad, Americans good, they good, these bad, like very simplistic, right? Like obviously
Yeah,
not
yes.
not this simplistic, right? That's exaggeration, but similar,
Yeah.
And I would say like, yeah, but what about that IBM, an American company, was giving the data on Jews to the German government? Wasn't that like a really bad thing that the Americans did? And like they basically gave the race data to Hitler so that he could know which families are Jewish and this kind of stuff, And my
Yeah.
history teacher, because he didn't know that, he would say it's wrong.
Wow.
like because he was so set in his belief, right? So he couldn't accept that a kid knows a single thing he didn't know, right? Like, I mean, it would really not
Yeah.
be a big deal for him to say, I don't know that, I didn't hear about that, I would have to look into it, right? Like, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
a big deal, right? But he didn't, right? Like, he was so set in his belief that he had to say, no, that's wrong, even though it's not wrong. Like, it's just like everyone
Stop,
can look
Jonas.
it up, it's kind of like a historical fact that is not, or at least I never found anything that would go against that, like that IBM gave the race data to Germany. And so these kind of things, like they always got me very resentful, right, about like the relationship between adults and kids. But then in the
Yeah.
Go community, man, like the first Go thing I went to, I was weak, right? Like I was weak and young, right?
Yeah.
So I
True.
thought, okay, they will hate on me because I'm weak, and they will hate on me because I'm young, right? Like, because I was like
Yeah.
14, right?
It's
Or
a perfect
13.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really bad combination, I thought, right? But they were so nice, right? Like they didn't care that I was weak. They didn't care that I was young. They treated me just like they treated everyone else. Like that was my experience, And I was like, whoa, this is so
Hey.
like, wow, everyone is so nice to each other. And like they were old people, right? Like they were pretty old. They were like 60,
Yeah.
70, They treated me like I was an adult, right? And I was like, whoa, this is, wow, they are doing exactly what I also thought that I want to do when I'm older, right? And so I was really happy about that. What was your experience like in the Go community, like in terms of like respect and like how people deal with each other and stuff like that?
Well, it was pretty much the same. I mean, also in Italy and in my city in Rome, I've always been very much followed by the all the guys, all the stronger players in the club.
Mm.
Since I mean, for example, when even in the first day when we just arrived and they
Yes.
stopped playing because there were three new people and they
Oh,
split and play with all of us,
yeah, that's cool.
and they were teaching. And I remember that at first, like I was not uh, let's say not prepared to learn.
Mhm.
so any information they gave me, I was not like I was not sure. Like they say, maybe you see this move is wrong because this and this and this, and I was like, no, but I think it's good. So I was not ready to understand
Mhm.
what was Go,
Yeah.
and but slowly, let's say that they always tried to teach me, and we played many games, and also at some point of, I mean, soon later, I understood that there was so much to learn, and that I could learn from any of them.
Yeah.
And so the process changed, and I started playing with everyone, and in every game I asked many questions and talked for hours and hours to review and stuff.
Nice.
And so I finally started improving also, and we went to tournaments because that also was a novelty, of course.
Yes.
And it was my first tournament experience was amazing. It was like unbelievable to me. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was one of my also first travels in Italy, because I
Mm.
didn't. It just didn't happen that much.
Mm.
So we went in Pisa, which is
Ah,
where we
nice.
did some of the last EGC,
Ah, really nice. Yeah, so I was
European
there.
Go Congress. Yeah, it was in Pisa. Yeah, it was
Nice.
there. So my first tournament was there. I went with my friend, my Japanese friend. So at that
Nice.
time, uh, let's say I was still not so connect with my club. I mean, I just entered the club, but I was not already friends with everyone. I mean,
Hmm.
they know me, I know
Yeah.
them, but we still don't know well each other.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
told me, yes, if you want to come to the tournament, just call Maurizio,
Mm.
and he will host you.
Ah,
And I was
nice.
like, what, host me? But he doesn't know me. I mean, I barely know you. And but they say, yeah, it's normal, like all the
Yeah.
players will go there
Ah,
and sleep there. And so, okay, I was like, okay, let's try. Why not? And
yes.
of course, my parents were like, "What? You're crazy! Why? No, don't go! They will kill you and stuff." Okay, and,
The
but
crazy goal players, beware.
exactly. So I mean, we were ready to go in some hotel if that was the case, but we just went, me and my Japanese friend together. So we were both host by this
Yeah.
home. So
Mm.
we found the address, and we used, and we ring
Ring the
the stuff,
bell.
ring the bell exactly.
Yes.
And so we entered, and I was expecting like, so they are hosting us, they are hosting the other Roman players, and they told me they are hosting also other players from actually almost everyone who was going to the tournament. So I
Nice.
was
Wow.
expecting, this big castle with tons of room and floors. And we enter, and the house is, I mean, it's big, but it's just two floors and some room.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there was like, I don't know, like 20 people in that house. And he was hosting us, all of us, within his, of course, his wife and his kids. We were all
Wow.
together in this house. And
Yes.
and we asked, okay, yeah, but where we will sleep, are there enough like enough bed for everyone? They say, no, you can sleep wherever you want. so, so we slept under some table, and
Yes.
there were people playing all the night and stuff. So
Yes.
it was really some crazy experience, like welcome to the world of Go
Yeah.
and the crazy Go players.
Yes.
and so there we found out that any Go player was like the one in Rome. Like anyone was ready to teach and to study with you and to follow. So yeah, it's amazing. Then we found that it's the same when we went in the first European Go Congress,
Mm.
and again we find 1,000 of people playing Go, and everyone just treat you as a friend, and
Mm.
and even if they don't talk the language, at least I wasn't talking English at all at the
Yeah.
time, but still it was possible to talk each other through the board, like yeah,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
with our Italian gestures.
Yeah. Yeah. As Italians, you have quite an advantage in the
Yeah, that's true.
hand communication game. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's
True. Yeah, that's true.
wow. Yeah.
So
That's a
yeah,
beautiful, beautiful story, man.
yeah, it
I
was
think I
amazing.
think in most Go communities, like in most countries, it's that way. Like in Germany, definitely. So
Yeah, I
it's
think
so
too.
amazing, right? Like that's why sometimes I'm like, when people want Go to be much bigger and more popular, right? I do understand that on some degree, but
Yeah,
I really love that we are such a tight knit community, and through
yeah.
that, everyone is like so loving towards each other, and there's so much
Mm. Yeah, probably that's connect.
familiarity.
Mm. Yeah, I I wonder how would we come if it becomes more popular. I mean, if this could last somehow.
That
This,
would be great. That would be great.
yeah, yeah,
I
that would
just
be
don't know.
the solution of to everything.
Yeah.
Just spread the love in the world through Go.
Yeah, I think the Go community is really a very, like, it's a very good example of like how I think these kind of communities can work in like a best case scenario. Like obviously there's still flaws also in the Go community, but like at least this part of it I think is just very amazing that everyone is so open to host other people, and through just
Yeah.
this shared love for this game to be very open to other people. And like my second Go experience, my second tournament experience was basically similar to yours, you know, where I mean, I was 14. I was going for the first time
Wow.
on my own to some
Yeah.
other Go tournament, and someone I just knew for like 2 months in the Go club told me, "Yeah, you can drive with me," you know, like, and I was like, "Oh, do I need to pay?" Nah, don't. Everything's fine, you know. And like,
Yeah, yeah.
you're young, don't think
Oh
about
my
that.
God, yeah.
And so I could drive
Same.
with his, like he drove the car, you know, he drove me to the tournament. Then at the tournament, there was another guy that I never saw ever, that was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna live with me, and we're gonna
Wow.
go eat." And he went out, we went out to dinner together, and he paid for me, and then he hosted me, and I was sleeping there, right?
Wow.
And it's just
Too
like,
much. Like,
yeah, it's so amazing, right? Like it's just so, like, just
yeah.
you know, like and the great thing about it also is that because we all experience that, right, as Go players of our generation now, right, we all experience that. For
Yeah.
us it's natural to give that to the next generation, right? Like for us it's natural
Yeah,
to,
that's true too.
because it's such a, like, I think that's a nice thing about being nice. Like being nice is such a, or like doing the right thing, or like all these things. It's like when somebody does that to you, it's really difficult to be
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm gonna do the shitty thing instead, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah, yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's
like all
contagious.
these
Right?
people were really nice to me, but nah, I'm not gonna do that, you know. Like, I mean, some people, you know, might do that, but like many people
Yeah,
in our generation that lived through that experience are gonna be like, no, I'm gonna host people, and if somebody doesn't have the money, I'm gonna pay for him, you know. And like this really
yeah, yeah.
generous, you know, like even if I don't know him, right? Like even if I don't know him, just by the
True.
sheer idea of like sharing this space together as a community, right? So yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah, definitely.
and I really
Yeah, that's
hope that our generation is gonna keep that spirit alive into the next generation and into the next generation, and you know, maybe even beyond Go, but at least to keep that alive inside the Go community, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. That's really a good part of the Go community.
yeah,
And also, yeah, another experience. I mean, it's always
yes.
similar, but I lived in Paris for 6 months, and I found it very difficult to somehow to make friends. I went in a music academy, so I mean, it was not like I didn't found people with something in common like
Yeah.
with me, but still, the language was always a barrier between me and the others.
Yeah.
And so in the end, I didn't make many musicians friend there while I was studying. But you know, when I entered to the Paris Go Club, then hey, in the so I suddenly I had tons of friends in Paris, like immediately, like after visiting 1 week, and they also, you know, then invited me also for other stuff. That's amazing, yeah. And yeah, I remember I felt really well because of that. Like, you know, because you can feel also lonely being
Yeah.
abroad without family and friends,
Yes.
and there is also the language that you don't know well, and then
Yes.
you just go to the Go Club and and then everything is fine.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So it's basically like keep
Yeah.
calm and go to the Go Club, right? Like that's our
Exactly. Yeah. Just
t-shirt.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
man.
That's
Ah, yeah. There's a lot of great experiences I've had in the Go community. What would you say was were some of the most important experiences that you had in Go or in music? Like catalyzing moments or just like amazing
mm,
experiences, just a great feeling. Like
amazing. Is
what do you think were
oh
the
what?
best ones?
Okay. Let's see. Let's start with Go.
Mm-hmm.
With Go, I remember very well my best loss, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
which was in a tournament where I, at the time I was like maybe 2 or 3 done, so I was the highest level player in the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and I played with the very lower rank, like 4Q or 5Q, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I remember I was doing well in that game, of course, but then I missed something, and it went terrible for me.
Mm.
So in the end, I lost the game, and I was feeling kind of upset, about myself. Like,
Mm.
why did I made the mistake? And then something unbelievable happened. Like, because my opponent, which was way older than me, like maybe 50 years old or something,
Mm.
and he was so happy to be able to beat me that he started crying for the win. And so that
Sweet.
was a very touching experience. Like,
Mm.
and I mean, of course it was it was not anymore upsetting for me to lose,
Oh, that's sweet.
like, because yeah I felt like I don't know, I felt kind of how is it, if
Like a
it
strong
was an honor.
connection to him in a way.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah, in a way,
understood
yes.
him, his feeling.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was feeling bad for my game, but then
Mm.
I realized that I mean that I reached anyway a good level, if that even beating me, it means something for somebody else, like
Mm.
playing with
Mm-hmm.
me means something. So I
Yes.
was happy that he was so much into the game, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he was probably uh, how to say, nervous about winning also,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
which is amazing. I mean, I should be more happy for that than winning. Probably I would
That's
have
true.
never knew it if I won the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably for me would have just be a normal game where I win because I prepared for the game and stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, that was very touching experience in Go.
Wow.
And also somehow I'm impressed by this top European player, which is Ilya Shikshin.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that the first time I saw him playing Go,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, I don't know, maybe it was just my impression, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt something different seeing him playing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how serious he was, and
Yes.
I understood that I was not serious, like about Go.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw how much concentrated he was in the
Mm.
game, like just by his look,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt uh, I felt some pressure, like like I couldn't breathe anymore normally when I see him looking at at the board with
Yes.
uh, with that concentration,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like, wow, if I was sitting next, in front of him during the game,
Mm.
I would feel the pressure just by his look,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so maybe that was very impressed, but
Nice.
yeah, but this was something special for
Yeah,
me
I
to
can
see.
understand that somewhat.
Yeah, it was as if I saw something immaterial, let's say, like
Mm-hmm.
if he was.
he was something around him that
Uh-huh.
that enclosed the
Some
roof. I don't
aura.
know. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah, that was
Maybe there is
curious
something
for
like
sure.
that. I don't know.
Maybe there is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's curious. I
Like
mean,
actually
I,
people often experience that other people are glowing or something like that. And
yeah,
not
yeah,
only when they put lights there to make them glow like I do right now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But also in more natural
yeah,
circumstances. And I do
yeah,
think there might be something like that. Yeah. So maybe
yeah.
you did
And
see
yeah, I
something.
think it's actually very different when. I mean, I think there are many reasons for that, but
Mm.
when you stay at a tournament and you move from the last tables to the top tables,
Yeah.
then there is a real change of atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you can really feel it. Sometimes it's just because it's more silent, and
Yeah.
that's some kind of. I mean, that should be also on the lower table for sure, but
Yeah.
somehow it's you just feel that something is changing
Yeah.
when you see an high level game and high level players.
Yeah, I agree.
And about music, oh, well, I'm not sure about music. I have very great experience about hearing music, like
Mhm.
seeing concerts, because that's uh, really a moment where you can
Mhm.
just receive and
And where maybe
just
the passion lies, like where you reignite the passion and where you feel it, what drives you to make music as well? Maybe
ah
that a little bit.
oh well, it's wait,
I I mean
this is the question.
I mean that when you listen to a great concert or something, maybe it's also that
Ah,
this
yeah.
reignites your passion. Like it shows you what you're passionate
Except,
about, and
yeah, yeah,
it gives you that
yeah.
sense. Ah, that's why I'm making music. You know, like it gives you that. I
Yeah,
remember. You know, like that's
yeah,
why I'm making.
exactly like that. I mean,
Mm.
I couldn't use better word, because sometimes, especially two times in my life, that happened clearly.
Mm.
Like the first time was just a symphonic concert, uh, which was in the biggest theater in Rome.
Mm.
So was also the most important orchestra, which maybe is the best orchestra in Italy too. So they played
Nice.
a special piece, which is not so often played, at least in Rome. It was the first time that I heard it from live, but
Mm.
it was one of my favorite pieces. So I was very curious to hear it from live, because
Yeah.
it's totally different. And I don't know, it was just amazing. Like even just the volume that they reached was so high and surrounding. So,
Mm.
and I was even far from the stage,
Mm.
but still it was everywhere, like in the
Yeah, you
room.
could feel it, kind of like it's in your
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
And I felt like I don't know, overwhelmed, like totally
Mm.
covered by
Yeah.
the sensation. And in that case, yeah, it's. I mean, I wanted definitely to be there as a musician. Also, you
Mm.
feel like you want to be where the energy starts, where
Mhm.
it where, where it go out, because
Yeah.
it's the main point where you can receive it.
Yeah, I
and
understand that.
uh, and I think that's crazy. I mean, the orchestra. That's why it's one of the my biggest goal,
Mm.
because the orchestra itself, it's something magic somehow,
Mm.
because you are really all connected, and you can feel it, and you can also feel that you are making something which is impossible, like for yourself,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
is impossible without everyone being
Yeah.
in the same in the same
And
connection.
everyone being super concentrated and
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you're
I
you're
really often watch concerts and like live concerts and
Mhm.
I often watch the people and they're like
Yeah.
so involved, right? Everyone, and they
Yeah.
try to, you know, be one movement, right? Like everyone be
Exactly.
one movement together, right? Like, oh, it's
Yeah. One thing.
so it's really crazy also to watch them and watch their faces, and
Yeah.
like they're really intense sometimes. Sometimes they might even look angry, but then often also when they're finished, it's like wow, you know, it's you can almost feel
Yeah.
the energy, like you know,
Releasing.
liberation, and you know, them feeling like wow, we did it, you know, like
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. And yeah. So that, and I can uh, how to say, I can swear that when you are in it, it's even better. I mean, it's really happening. It's what you feel exactly, that you
wow.
are not anymore yourself, or somehow you are
Mm,
something bigger, something which is really impossible and hard to imagine. Yeah.
that's
It's like really being this person with 100 harps and instruments. And the other time that I mean, this time I was like sure about being a musician. Like, I want to be there. I want to be the musician. I want to be in the orchestra.
yes, yes.
And another time I was hearing a special concert in another part of Rome,
Mm,
which was a famous musician, but a very very nice one. I mean, a very free musician somehow. I mean, it's like a never-ending freelancer. It's not
mhm,
someone who is stuck on something. And he was that period working on Armenian music.
uh-huh.
So he had these Armenian musicians with him, and he collected them. And consider that he is really, I mean, he's very prepared on
Mhm,
classic music, on baroque music and
mhm,
ancient music, and he play an instrument which is quite ancient, which is not the cello. Is I'm not even sure how it's called in English actually,
mhm.
but it's similar to a cello, but it's older. And so yes, I was surprised to see him playing Armenian music with Armenian musicians, and still, so somehow he connected with them, and uh, they how to say, uh, yeah, they made some part of union between their knowledge. I mean, they had the Armenian popular and folk music knowledge, and he
Mhm.
has this great musician experience
Yes.
in all the years, all the concerts and stuff. So he made this group and start making this concert over the world. And finally, he was in Rome, so
Oh.
I went there, and
Mm,
of course the all the concert was amazing. But I was mainly impressed by one instrument,
mhm.
which is the duduk.
Duduk.
That is an Arabic or Armenian flute, which is a
Yeah,
flute.
yeah, I heard about it before actually.
Yeah, and
I think.
even if he played just like one single note, one long note
Mhm,
with the circular breathing. I don't know if you know this circular breathing, so that you can play without stopping, like
mhm.
infinite. So you can breathe and blow at the same time. So he made this technique to make a
Oh.
very long sound. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very complicated. Sometimes it's used also for meditation and yoga and stuff with the pranayama
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow.
sometimes. And so he made this technique, and only this long note. The sound was what impressed me a lot. The
Mm.
sound was, I don't know, it was like, if I could tell, uh, I mean, the only way to say it is like, it's like if you saw, let's say that I come to you and I show, hey, look at that wall. You look at the wall and it's a color which you never saw before. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's new color. You think that you saw all the colors, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
but then you sit there and you see another one. So that
Yes.
was the same feeling that I had. It's
Yeah,
like I hear something which I thought didn't exist, like a sound that I did till didn't exist,
that's
and
interesting.
it
I think I
was.
had a similar feeling, but maybe less strong when I
Uh-huh.
heard hang drum for the first time. You
Wow,
know, hang drum?
nice. Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
it
Yes.
was just so different. Like maybe it wasn't as strong as a moment as you had, of course, but like I think maybe it was a similar moment where I was like, wow, like
Yeah,
music can be very different from what I imagine as music. It's yeah, it's
true. Yes,
just
yes.
such a different instrument, and even in that instrument there's so much, right? Like it's so, like there's so many different notes and like so many different
Yeah, true.
compositions, and
And
it's a small thing, and I'm like, I know nothing. I have like no idea like what's
true,
going
true,
on.
true. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
And
I
the
mean, yeah,
flute,
it's
it's called duduk or
duduk.
duduk.
Yes, that one. That one is called duduk.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
think I heard it at some point.
yeah, probably. I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of, you can find it for sure on YouTube.
it's nice.
And yeah, I mean, I was impressed because it's
Mm.
not just like a melody or a piece or an orchestra. It's just one man making a sound, long
Yeah.
sound. And I mean, I remember that I even cried at the moment. I
Wow,
was
nice.
really I don't know, I was
Yeah.
how to say, it was like a break in myself, like
Mm.
a crash.
Wow, nice.
And I felt like
Nice.
in that moment I was like I want that to be my voice, like I'm a
Mhm.
flutist, so maybe maybe I can do the same. Maybe I can make only one note and making such a good sound that someone like collapse inside
Yes,
somehow.
yes.
And
That would be
that was
amazing, right?
amazing. Yeah, because it's very different, from the orchestra uh, experience,
Mm.
because there you can understand, but only one man to be able to impress so much with
Yeah.
just the sound.
Yeah.
That was something that also motivated me and made me think, I'm doing the right thing. I'm
Mhm.
going in the right direction, so I didn't make a bad choice. And that's very useful. I think this sometime some motivational experience. I think it's very important in the maybe in any field, but I feel it's particularly in music because probably just because it's my field.
Mm.
And when you study, I mean, to me it's a bit hard to be the good musician somehow. I mean, the
Mm.
one that just close in a room and study and work hard,
Yeah, yeah.
just because it's something that I do alone. That I mean, I like people. I want to I want to be around with people so very
Yeah.
often, and to be so much
Also maybe to
cons-
share the experience, right? Because that's a lot
also.
what we like. I
Yeah,
think that's also where music is coming from, like sharing this
yeah,
cultural
exactly.
experience. So it's kind of unnatural to just do it for yourself, right? And like the
Yeah,
real
yeah. I mean,
thing is definitely to share it with people and feel the energy and feel how they
yeah,
respond to it, and maybe they dance and maybe they feel the energy, right?
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's a language, and
Mm.
I'm in room talking with myself all the time. So that's weird, and that's the moment where you need motivation for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's the most difficult part, and the one that
Mm.
nobody sees. And yeah, that's amazing.
Nice, man. Oh, nice. Okay, I
Wow.
think I want to maybe close up with the most important
Mhm.
question that probably everyone is thinking about. Um,
Uh-huh.
so, as a
Maybe I know.
musician, what type of
Okay.
music do you listen to? What is the correct
Uh-huh.
music? What is a good taste in music look like?
The cute taste. Yeah, I don't think anything like that exists, like a good taste. I think it's so what I hear. My first confession is that I don't hear often music.
Hmm.
That doesn't happen often,
Wow, interesting.
and the, the main probably there are more reasons to it. One reason is that many people can hear music while doing something else, and I can't.
Mm.
If I hear music, I can just hear music. I mean, I cannot concentrate on something else. So for me, it's something that take much time to do, and also
Yeah.
I'm kind of now used to see live concerts,
Ah.
which is like a bit like a drug, and it's difficult to to stop and see and to listen to music from. I mean, it's still good. I can still, but
I
it's like
understand
if
what you mean. It's basically
yeah,
like you've been taking like Haribo for some while, and then at some point you started taking ecstasy instead, and then it's like
yeah, yeah.
Haribo just this doesn't give me the right feeling anymore. I kind of feel like I need ecstasy now,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and
Maybe,
going back to
maybe.
Haribo is difficult, you know. It's a bit
Yeah,
softer.
yeah. Let's say when I hear the stuff from YouTube,
Mm,
sometimes I even get emotions, but I can feel that those emotions, it's just me imagining
mhm,
how it will be from live. Just
mhm.
recreating the sensation
Yeah.
by being given a big hint from YouTube.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
YouTube just tell me, this was the music. Do you remember? And sometimes I remember, and I feel the emotion.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah, I understand.
and yeah, also playing an instrument, it's possible that you're just sometimes saturated by the music.
Mm,
If I study 6 hours by playing the instrument and doing music, it's
mm.
not sure that I want to hear music after that.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's not
understand that.
always. Yeah, you need also to be in the position to get the music. So, but the real question was not this one. It was what do I like to hear when I hear
Yes.
something.
Yes.
So, uh, so the reality is that okay, let's say I will get the classic music out of the list to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it's very different from the rest.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I think it's very different, mainly because of how it is done. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's. I mean, you can spend like 2 years to write a piece of classic music, and it's not 2 years looking for motivation or just doing nothing. It's like real work on the piece.
Mm.
So it's sometimes very complex, the classic music, which is the reason because it's not popular as pop music. It's because it's not easy to understand it, uh, to enjoy it if you're not prepared to it somehow.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, many people just don't know anything about classic and still like it.
Yeah.
But
Me.
but I wouldn't say that. Yeah, but I wouldn't say that they are not really prepared. I mean, if you listen much classic music, automatically you're here, and
Sure.
your mind start to learn something, to learn the language, because it's a very specific language,
Mm.
and one can also study the language and understand all the words. But even if you just listen the language, then something you learn. If I live in France and I don't study French, at some point I start understanding what people are saying
Yes.
anyway. Okay, so that's what I think. Yeah, if I think many of the young people nowadays don't just listen a lot to the
popular music and to the new stuff,
Yes.
and they are not ready to get the classic music. They miss the, I don't know, the rhythm, the sound, the different sounds,
Mm.
and that can be a big obstacle, a big barrier.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think when you, let's say, when you learn really the language, then it's, I don't know. I feel like it's unfair to compare it to other musical languages,
Hmm.
because it has so much tradition behind it, so much studies, so much work behind,
Hmm.
that you cannot really compare. It's like it's really two different stuff for me. And when you come to the point that you can really understand deeply the meaning and the language and all about a classical piece, then I think you are. I mean, at least you know that you are in front of some masterpiece,
Mm.
and you understand how great it is, at least.
Yeah,
And then, if you even like it, then you can get some really absurd experience,
that's for sure.
and which was my case. But I'm not saying that you cannot have that as well with other kind of music. I'm just saying that if you know well classical music, then it's impossible not to feel it
Mm.
somehow. I mean, I feel like it's really, because it's, I will say, almost objectively good, at least in the
So
way
good
it's
classical
done.
music is objectively good, is what you're saying.
I mean, it's objectively good, which doesn't mean that anyone will like it, but
Yeah.
if anyone will study it, then they will know that it's good.
Hmm.
Then, because I mean, you cannot say that for how it's just for how it's done, it's perfect somehow. And but when I want to hear something, I in fact rarely hear classical music,
Hmm.
because mainly because it's very intense, and every time I need to be in the right mood to receive it.
Hmm.
Or if I hear classical music and I cannot concentrate on it, or just I get distracted by something else, then I also feel bad. I feel
Yeah.
like
You're
I'm
not
doing
giving it
something
the
bad.
proper respect that it
Yeah,
deserves.
exactly. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm doing something really, really wrong, which is
I
not what
understand.
happened when I hear something else.
Mm.
So mainly, I really like to hear the the normal, I mean, the pop music. The
Hmm.
also jazz is also another stuff. It's, I think it's similar to classic in the way that you need to study it to get really a good understanding of it, of what's
Mm.
happening. I mean, for sure you enjoy it more if you study it somehow, probably. And so yeah, I like to hear rock band and rap song. Rap song I really like, because
Nice. What,
it's,
what what kind of rap do you like?
hmm, well, I started by classic American rappers like Eminem, or hip hop like KRS-One or Dr. Dre, and all this
Hmm.
mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
So I also at some point hear about some Italian rap,
Hmm.
which was interesting too. But yeah, I like I mean, usually the text is not that perfect, like will not be poetry, at least.
Yeah.
But when you hear it, then you understand that it's more important the sound of the words than the word themselves. Like
Yes.
they are,
Give me a
it's,
second.
yeah.
I will come back in a minute.
Oh, sure.
Mhm.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, very artistic.
The
Yeah.
artist. So
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 yeah,
basically,
I
when
mean,
it's rap, you think it's more about like the rhythm and the
mm,
flow, and not necessarily
yeah,
as much about the lyrics.
yeah. At least that was
What
what
you were listening
interested
to.
me. Yeah, because I mean, when I was young, I couldn't even understand English, even if I read the
Mm.
lyrics.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was really attracted by the percussive use of the voice
Mm.
somehow.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. But yeah, to get a real answer to your question, I don't have a preferred kind of music to when it's about hearing. I just
Mm.
like. I mean, can depends on the mood, but whatever it's a good work. Then I like to listen to. Sometimes in every genre, then there is something that I don't like, and
Yeah.
many things that I like.
Hopefully.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really hear a lot of different stuff depending what I find.
That's nice. That's nice. Do you know of NF for rap?
Of of
NF.
what?
He's
Enough?
a
No,
rapper.
I don't. I
Okay.
don't think
I
know
I
him.
can recommend him
I
very much.
can.
Like to me, actually, it seems very likely that how to say, like the greatest philosophers of our time, for them, it's very it's very likely to go into rap,
Hmm.
like because it's like almost the right art form. Because like if you write books, not many
Mhm.
people get successful at writing books. Like very few people are read. Like many people do
Hmm.
write books, but very few of those are actually read by anyone, you know, like many of
True.
them are
Yeah.
just trashed. Five people read them, and so
Hmm.
that's not necessarily the right direction to go. And then
Hmm.
as a philosopher at university, you also don't necessarily reach that many people. Like maybe that's something for you, but maybe that isn't, right? But as a rap
Yes.
artist, you use your voice, and you you can almost speak. It's almost like poetry, so you can use your creative
Yes.
mind as well, and you can transfer these very sophisticated philosophical points in metaphorical language, or in substantive language, with like this also this like you also have to make it pleasant to listen to,
Hmm.
and so you create this structure that forces you into a smaller box, but thereby also creates a lot of possibilities and opportunities. So it's like a set of rules you to play by, but it's actually a set of rules that also gives you a lot of options to live out that. And I see that in some rappers, some rappers that are really good, in my opinion, usually do that. They they don't only have really good delivery on their, but um, they are also good at making metaphorical, philosophical points inside their lines or between the lines. And yeah, but also they can be technically really smart. So like, for example, Eminem in his Lose
Mhm.
Yourself,
Yes.
it's like an amazing piece of art, because it's like every line rhymes with the next line, of course, like that's basic how that works, right? But it's not only
Yeah.
that, it's like that every almost every word in a line is rhymed with another word in another line, and almost
Yeah.
there's like a structure in which words rhyme with which words. And like, it's, if you look at it from from far away, and you look at all the patterns, it's like
Mhm.
it's like genius. It's really
Yeah.
like, I can recommend everyone, like, there's a YouTube video which breaks down the way Lose Yourself was written, and
Uh-huh.
it's mind-blowing. It's really good. And that's
Yeah,
the
that's
technical side of it, but then there's also the
yeah.
people who use it as a medium to speak really, really. Also, it's a good medium to transfer emotion, like, because NF, he is talking mainly about his real life and about his struggles and stuff like that in a really deep metaphorical way. For example, in
Yeah.
his album Mansion, he's basically making up this metaphor of having a mansion, and the mansion is his mind, more or less, and there are different doors he's opening, and like one door there might be fear inside, and so he's immediately closing the door, and in that room, on the walls, there's certain stuff written,
Mhm.
um that he's saying in the lyrics, and it's really complicated, like if you listen to it, you have to listen very carefully to understand all the metaphors, because it's like so amazing, because he's just
That's
like, like these rooms and how they're like, and then the ground, and then underground, and in the cellar, and like all these things, right? And they all have a meaning on the geographical level, because that creates something, right? Like the
Yeah.
the the stuff that is on the floors that are more underground, of course, is also the stuff that he's burying in his own mind. The stuff that he wants to ignore is left there, right? And the stuff that is on the surface, his living room, etc. There's the
Yeah.
more stuff that he tries to focus on, and so it's like, it's really, like
Yeah, it's
listening to that.
tips.
Yeah, listening to that album is like, whoa, like he's doing a really good job. And so I would really encourage listening to him, or people like him.
Yeah.
There definitely
Yeah, it's interesting. You see, even in rap, and
some
you can find deepest level of music, like not only what you hear, but there is something behind it, and then something behind that too.
yeah.
And that's so just let's just say that all the music can be really good. Like you can, it can be complex, can be really interesting,
Yes.
not only just enjoyable, but really interesting
Yes.
to
And
yeah.
by the way, like, because this needs to be said. I mean, I cannot not say this in this whole time. I love your music, right? Like
Oh,
the few times that I listened to you play the flute, right? Like every time it was amazing, right? Like, yeah.
well,
So thank you, by the way,
thank you.
for that as well. It was yeah. I mean, every time I listened to you, it was like a meditation. Every time I was like closing my eyes and just taking it in, and Yeah, just amazing. Except that one time
That's
where
big honor.
the at the EGC where it was also a dance performance at the same time, right? That was also nice. You
Oh
remember
yeah.
that in Pisa, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I remember. I remember. Yes, in Pisa. Yes, it was in the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. And maybe yeah, because you heard me also in Korea. Is it possible?
Yes, yes. I also heard you in Korea, and
Because
I also heard
at
you,
the
and that was amazing. Like I think the one in Korea I liked the most. Interestingly
uh-huh.
enough, um, I also really loved the one at the EGC, and also really nice
uh,
was at another EGC at the one in
yeah, Bruxelles.
Brussels. Maybe I heard you
Yes,
just more or less training or something.
yes, yes. Yeah, I
Yeah, but
remember.
that was
And
also
maybe
really
you.
nice. I also loved
Yeah,
listening.
yeah. I was looking for some room to to train
Yes,
as
yes,
a good musician.
yes. Ah, okay, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is there anything you would still like to talk about, or
Uh, well, I didn't prepare any question.
you didn't prepare any questions? Damn it. Is there is there
It's
anything
my
like apart from music and Go, right? Like
Mhm.
what are
Yeah.
things or maybe people or ideas, philosophical points, I don't know, or
Mhm.
just, like things that happen in your life again and again or something that you are really interested in or that you think other people should maybe check out, like or that you think everyone should
Mm.
know, like this is
Hi,
an idea everyone should think about or like whatever, right? Like
Mhm. Well, I'm not nothing so particular. I I just am very concerned about the let's call it open mindedness.
mm,
So to be as much as open minded as you can be.
yeah.
And I think that one thing that I like in this sense is to travel
mm,
and meet new cultures.
mm,
I think that's super interesting. Like to really talk with other countries and also going in another continent too, which is why I will really like to travel more. And I'm I'm very often thinking about looking for a job which I can make even traveling,
mm,
so that I can also not stop. Just like going all the time
yes.
around. Yeah, because my feeling is that it's like it's I don't know, it's super interesting. The just the people is super interesting,
Yeah.
and all the people. And I would like to know as much as possible somehow. And also I really love to see new places and new parts of the world, which is should be my world. But usually our world is it's sometimes just our city or something more. But almost no one really appreciate the
Mm,
entirety of the world we are in. And
yeah.
I would really like to see everything. you
Yeah.
know like I want to see many stuff.
Yeah.
And I cannot stand just don't going there. I feel like it's my I don't know, it's my own. Like I should see it. I mean, it's my
Hmm.
planet, then why shouldn't I go?
Yeah. So
It's
so
like
that
if
that maybe is like a deep feeling of like your destiny, that you're destined to go to these
you know
places and that there are still a lot of these experiences that you feel like
yeah
that's
I feel
important to you to have these experiences.
yeah I feel like if I'm at home and there is one room that I never visited, it feels like that. It feels weird. Like why
Yes.
I still didn't visit. And it's there. It's
Yeah.
not like in another planet I can go. somehow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
that. So I'd like to. And also I really appreciate. I mean, my first idea was just to see the world, but then I understood that also seeing people it's interesting. Seeing other people in other countries and make other friends, and that's
Yeah.
also super interesting. And people, it's very different from sometimes from the country they are in.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes the experience, there are a lot of stuff which are totally different, and that's curious. And when I think about that, I also have the immediate feeling like what about me it's me, and what about me it's Italy. you know.
Hmm.
How was I somehow in, yeah, changed by the way I lived, by my city
Yeah.
and stuff. And of course I like to maybe to take that part off if I want, let's say. I
Hmm.
mean, at least to know what it is, like
Yeah.
what it's normal in the world, and what is normal for me.
Mm.
Because that's also for, I mean, the more you know about the others, let's say, about how they think, about who they are, and the more you can understand the others, which is totally difficult. It's super difficult, and to be open-minded,
Mm.
because you are always surrounded by yourself. You are always by your things, by your feelings, by everything that concerns you. Even when you see other people around, it's just your eyes like that make these images, and
Mm.
gives you the sensation that you are seeing anyone. So it's very difficult to imagine that they are exactly like you.
Mm.
I think it's even overwhelming. If, for example, I sometimes I try, like I'm in the street and I see all these people, and I try to think, what if everyone here is exactly like me? You know, it's like
Mm.
like they have their life and their things, and I'm just an object for passing
Yeah.
for them, and that I just get crushed. Like my mind just doesn't. Of course, I cannot imagine it. It's too big. You
Mm.
cannot imagine everyone being exactly like you, because it's just a lot. Like you cannot, you see, even if there are 20 people, but anyone has a universe inside,
Yeah.
then you can barely uh, yeah, you can barely support your own universe. And
Yeah.
so it's crazy, like to really
I think that
act.
that's what happens when you when there's a person and they have like a really big social media presence and you look through all their photos, you know? Like you're like
Yeah.
they
What?
experience a whole life like me.
Yeah.
What?
What?
What? There's so much.
Yeah, how much? Yeah, that's crazy. And yeah, if you think like that, then I mean, then it's then you can understand better the others somehow.
Mm.
But I think you should. I mean, at least me, I have to focus on this to remember it,
Yeah.
because it's easy to forget, like to
Yeah.
forget that
No, I think for
that yeah.
yeah. I think
So
for most
yeah,
people probably it's that way. But I think you're doing a
probably.
very good job at that. So I think it
Mm.
shows that you focus on that, that it's a priority for you to stay
Yeah, at least I.
open-minded, to look at people as individuals, you know, to try to see who they really
Yeah.
are, you know, instead of like, I don't know.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Because yeah, I mean, even when you judge, let's say not judge, but observe the others,
mm,
then you compare everything you see with what you will do.
mm,
Like, yeah, he do this because I also will do this, and then he probably will do this, but probably not, because probably it's just something that I will do,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's super difficult, and that's also one of the thing in fact I'm really interested about.
Yeah.
So in the main sense of the others, that's super interesting, and probably yeah, I feel like traveling will be helpful for sure,
Yeah.
because you see something very different probably. At least I'm imagining,
Yeah.
and that's super good. I mean, I'm sure that there are plenty of stuff that I wouldn't even consider as a possibility from
Yeah.
for living, you know, and to have the, I don't know, that would be it would be great to know more about everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
about
for sure,
that.
man. And I really agree. Like that open-mindedness was the first thing that came to your mind as an important thing for people to maybe have, and also to even prioritize, right? Like as a skill, almost as a muscle, right? Like to I mean, it's
Yeah,
also partly probably genetic or like personality, that some people are from the
it's true.
get-go more open-minded than others, and I think that's fine. I
It's
think
possible.
actually
Yeah.
there needs to be both in a way as well, like because like I think a culture works very well when there's enough people who are like everything should stay the same because we are all alive, so that's a good sign that we're doing the right thing. And then there should be other people who are like, we should change everything, everything sucks and we could do so much better, and like
Yeah, yeah.
let's just let's just destroy the system and build a new one, come on. And they balance each other out, right? Like they talk with one
Yeah.
another, right? The one people say, no, this should probably stay the same, and then the others say, maybe it should change, and then they come more together, they're from these extreme positions and they find
Yeah.
common ground. um, but to me the open-mindedness factor is also very important in the sense that right now I feel, at least here in Germany where I live, and also I see a lot of American media, right? So I'm kind of feeling like I'm an American citizen as well. um, and for these two countries, certainly there is a lot of polarization, so that people are really, many people are really stuck in their frame of reference, how they see the world, and the people who see it differently from theirs are evil or seem evil to them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that happens.
and I think that's very dangerous, like because that creates these bubbles where people just talk with people who agree with them, because it would be wrong to
Yeah.
talk to these Nazi, Hitler,
Yeah.
killer,
Yeah.
murderers, right? And
Yes.
and for the other side, it would be wrong to speak to the stupid people who don't understand, right? And so everyone like hobbles up in their own group, and I think if we could have more of this open-mindedness, of people being aware that they don't know, that like even if they have an opinion, that's fine, but that they're
Yeah.
at least aware it's an opinion. They, like i have I have maybe one opinion on how we should deal with corona, for example. This is one
Yeah.
contentious issue right now, right? Like it's very controversial, right? And there are
True. Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who know
It's
what the
true.
right solution is, and there's other people who know what the
Yeah.
right solution is, and they're very different
Exactly.
solutions, but they're both
Yeah.
very certain that they are right, and the other is
Yes. Yes. Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
And
Of course.
so I might have one idea of how it would be correct to react. You might have a different one, but that we can speak with one another, right, and say like, I think I disagree. I think it's this way, but I
Hey.
don't know because I have no idea, because it's really complicated. And I looked at these two studies and these two studies, or I looked into that, or I thought about that, or I compared this to that, and that's why blah blah blah. But to be open-minded enough to be like, but that doesn't mean I'm right. I have no idea. This is like super fucking complicated, and like everything we do
Yeah.
different outcomes for the future, right? And like I would love that, like I would love if we could come more together and have these conversations in a healthy manner. Also, just because I think that would be more sustainable going forward for our communities, like in Go, like I think the way people treat each other in Go is a very sustainable, like very nice, very good thing. And likewise, I see how as a big culture we deal with these political issues. I see that as very dangerous because it's very not sustainable, because it basically creates a situation in which if the one opinion wins, the other opinion is pushed aside. But being pushed aside doesn't mean it's gone. It usually means more, it will become more violent and then burst out in much worse of a shape than if we were to. It's similar to a body, like I look at the body often as a community, as a
Mhm.
as a country or whatever. And so
Mhm.
if like my leg hurts, and I'm like, fuck that leg, ignore it for 2 years, and at some point
Yeah.
it will come back. It will not be like, okay, you push me aside, I don't care, like I don't need to be healthy. No, it will at some point rebel against the whole system, and like it will flip everything upside down and like, put the trigger to my head and be like, you better look at me now, like.
Yeah.
And I think as a society we should be aware of the same thing happening, and be more empathic with each other, to be like, hey, you're a human being too, you are your whole universe, I'm a whole universe. And
Yeah.
maybe if we talk to each other we could understand our universes, right? And that would
Mhm.
be something.
Yeah,
Like,
that would be great.
for
And
me to listen to you and hear about the music scene, it's like, I learned a lot, right? Like I'm like, whoa, this is a really interesting world, right? Like, and if I would be like set in this idea that music is dumb, like, or whatever, I don't know, like
and it
like people who
happens. Yeah.
think people who think music is important are stupid. That's sometimes how people frame their political beliefs, right? Like people who
Yeah.
so if I were to do that with music, I would be like, I couldn't listen to you, I wouldn't ask you, why is it important to you? I don't understand, but I want to know, like I could at least ask it
Yeah.
like that, right? And maybe I would learn
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. That's true too. Yeah. And yeah, actually, I know that you studied politics, and and that you are at least well, let's say active about getting informations and stuff.
Sometimes for sure.
Sometimes, okay, sometimes, yeah. I mean, at least much more than me. And
Sure.
yeah, I've always, let's say, rejected the politic subject
Mm,
from some, and mainly because I felt this continuous, let's say, debate,
mm,
or two parts that are not possible to be together, and
yeah,
you hear opposite statement,
yeah,
and you don't I mean, at least I didn't understand really why, because it
mm,
it it felt like completely different from who was talking.
yeah,
And also, and apart from that, also I couldn't really make my own opinion, because I felt like getting information is very difficult. It's
yes,
super difficult, and I wouldn't really know where to start. Like, I have
yeah,
no idea how to get these informations,
yeah,
because if you hear it from television or staff journals, then it's never like, I mean, you're never sure if that's true, or if that's part of the reality or something
yeah.
like that.
Is it part
And
of
that really is
reality or
discouraged.
part of the simulation, right? It's difficult.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's really didn't encourage me to make efforts in that way,
Yeah,
which is probably sad. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I should be more concerned about some politics, which includes me. like my country and stuff. But again, I couldn't face it for these reasons.
I understand that totally.
So
You know, like
what?
when I was younger, I was really resentful about these things, like about almost everything. Actually, like for me, it was beyond politics even. Like because I always felt that people towards things, they always had such strong opinions, even though they didn't knew anything. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's how having an opinion works. And so I was like, I don't even want to have an
yeah,
opinion then. Like I was
yeah,
always very
I see.
happy to not have an opinion, you know, because I was like, having an opinion sucks. Like you have to be dogmatic. It's like a religion, and then you have to get other people to believe the same thing, and you have to shout at them, and you know, like have to be really angry
Yeah,
with them if they disagree. You know,
yeah, I don't want to do that.
yeah, I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
it's fun.
But then I think basically at some point I was like, I had this epiphany where I was like, you don't need to do that. That's just what everyone is doing. You know, and it was like, whoa. And then when I just realized that, I was like, okay, so do I want to do that? And then I was like, oh yeah, actually I am interested in the subject, you know? So I was like, oh, I don't need to be angry with everyone who disagrees, and I could form an
Uh-huh.
opinion and not be like consumed by the opinion, right? I could still be open-minded that I'm wrong. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's actually interesting to me, you know, like I'm actually, that's actually something I would like to do, you know, like because I would like
Yeah, yeah.
to I don't know, I don't like the word know, you know, but like to know something, but more like just to have certain perspectives offered, you know, and that I could like compare and like
Yeah,
have an opinion, you know, like have more of a grasp at least what might be true, right? Like you never come to a conclusion. I never get to a conclusion really, um, but I do have opinions on almost everything. You know, I can, you know,
yeah,
give
I know.
me a subject and I can talk about it for an hour or two. You know, but that doesn't
Yeah,
mean I think I'm right or something. It's like the world is really complex, right? And so I actually enjoy that. But I would agree with you that um, I don't think I would like everyone to do that, because it's actually very time consuming. Like even just to get um, somewhat informed on something that you have an opinion, like that takes a long time if you really want to do it well, you know? Like
yeah, yeah,
you
definitely.
can just like read one newspaper, the same newspaper every day, but that's really like that's like doing nothing. Like that, I mean, that's the
Yeah,
same. Like you then have like this one opinion that's really not objective or anything. It's like one perspective. Um,
yeah,
and I mean, you can, like, through open-mindedness, you can make it a bit better, because you can be aware at least, oh, they might be wrong and they argument this in this way. I'm not sure about that. You know, like even just reading them critically, you can already make more sense of it. Like, oh, they are talking about this, but they're not talking about that. But I think if their point was blah blah blah, then they would talk about that. So probably it's not that. And you know, like sometimes you can figure it out. You know, like detective. You know, like Sherlock Holmes basically style.
yeah.
You can be like, I think actually it's the opposite of what they're writing from what
Oh
they're
my god.
writing. You know, like sometimes you can get there, right?
Oh wow.
Sometimes,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Wow.
often to get to these points, it's more useful to like read like five different publications on the same topic that disagree with each other, right? And then
No.
go through a rabbit hole of like, was this information correct or wrong, and like, did he actually say that? And then you look at the interview, and then you watch the whole interview, you know, and then it's like it was like
Yeah.
one small political point and you had to like research 8 hours, right? And it's like you
My
throw
god.
up your hands, right? And
Yeah, it's
so
like you're studying the past.
yeah. So I really, yeah, I think for people who are not like amazingly interested in it, it's really not that necessary. Just it's necessary to be open-minded, because what often happens with people who don't study it is they just accept what everyone else is saying, you know.
Yeah,
And I think that's terrible. Like I think that's terrible. Like um like you can't even be like, okay, I think what they're saying is right, and then I mean that's fair, right? Obviously, but to be like certain because you don't look into it, you know, kind of be like, oh yeah, what everyone else is saying must be right because I'm not looking. Like that's really where often I have a problem, that people sometimes become more certain of something uh the lower amount of time they use to look into it.
wow, yeah, but that makes sense.
Yeah. It's
Because
kind of the
because
same
if
that you
you,
were
yeah,
talking about, by the way. Like
yeah,
the thing that you were talking about in the beginning, where you were saying, oh, at the beginning I could write, you know, my pieces, but
yeah,
then at
my
some
conclusion,
point
yeah,
I you know, I climbed up the mountain, and then I saw, oh shit, the mountain is like 10 times bigger than I thought, and it's like I have actually no idea. I'm like just at the beginning. What the heck, you know? And
yeah,
and so basically in the process of becoming better, often what happens is people become more aware of how difficult and complicated it is, and how little they
yeah,
know, right?
yes, 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 exactly. It's like Socrates again. I
Yes,
know
yes.
that I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. And so I think, is it correct that basically for you, that's at least what I feel when talking to you, when listening to you, when interacting with you on anything, basically, that for you, one of the most important things that you learned through music and Go um, was to just become aware of how little you know, and then to also use that for everything else. Like I see many people that don't do that, like that, you know, they are aware in Go that, oh, I'm really good at Go in comparison, but I really don't know anything, but then still have very strong political views, you know, or you know, think like they. But I think for you,
yeah,
I think you really are good at understanding, oh, I really don't know much about Go, even though I learned so much, right? And I really don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
that much about music, even though I studied even more in that, right? And
exactly.
that you are immediately aware with other things like, oh, I studied no philosophy or little, so I really also don't know anything about that, and I didn't study teaching children music, so I
Yeah,
really I have to be thinking as a beginner, right, every time. And so I see that a lot in you. Is that something you thought about?
yeah. Actually, uh, returning to the first moment of the interview, when you say Alessandro Pace,
Yeah.
Bo is actually something he invented, which actually means something in Italian. I mean,
Uh-huh.
not sure it's Italian. I mean, it's not like a word, but we
Hmm.
say Bo when we say like it's like this gesture is Bo.
Ah, nice.
It's like I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's something like that, and that's exactly this reasoning behind it. I don't know. It's my point of view
Mm.
most of the time.
Yeah,
So let's say not jumping to a conclusion, yeah, which is always so complicated. Yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, both in Go in music, it's interesting that I would say that the more you know and the more you understand that you don't know for some reason. Let's say that,
yes,
for example, in the Go, it's interesting that we have some peak, which are the pro players, let's say Korean, Chinese, and now AlphaGo.
yeah,
So we can, oh well, probably that's not the peak of the God move or the
yeah.
perfection, but at
Not
least
yet.
it's something that you can receive and study.
Mm.
So in Go, for example, the more I became stronger and understood the game, and also the more I understood how strong they are, which make you feel weaker for
Yeah,
sure, you know, because at beginning you have no idea why they are stronger. Maybe they just train more than you, and so something,
maybe
I
you
don't know.
can
Maybe
never
they
get so
maybe
strong because their genetics are just
no
different. Like, you don't know.
No, I mean, maybe they just studied a lot of Jusekis and made a lot of Tsumego, so their reading is a bit better than yours.
Yeah.
And the most you study and make Tsumego, and the most you get closer. But then, every time you get stronger in Go, you also improve uh, your your sense of the game, like your how to say perception. No,
Mm.
like
Yeah, your perception, your
yeah,
understanding.
yeah, your understanding of the game, and you like it's like you start thinking something new every time you get stronger in Go,
Mm.
and that one new thing you learn, then you see it on their games, on the games of the pro. You start seeing that too, and so you understand that they are even stronger because they see that too
Yeah.
also. And you can imagine that there are still other stuff missing from your knowledge.
Yeah.
The more you get closer to them, the more you understand what is what is the difference between you and them.
Yeah.
And that's why in Go I feel always weaker since I grew up,
Mm.
because I understand that they're amazing, like really amazing. And in music, maybe well, it's similar, but it's similar in a way that uh, let's say that I have some idea in my mind about
Mhm.
how the music should be, and
Ah,
that could if I manage how that idea,
yes.
if I manage to express that perfectly,
Yes.
I will be satisfied, let's say,
Nice. Yeah.
because maybe it's not the best idea about that
Mm.
particular piece, but still it's my idea, and since it's a language, then it's okay if I express
Yeah.
myself. That's all I want to get
Mm.
there.
It's
And
kind of perfect in a sense, I would say. You know,
yeah,
even if it's not like, I think there can be like these million of different perfects, let's say, like when people reach their peak and then
mm,
they encapsulate that in an art work of some sort.
yeah,
That's like, there can be very many different artworks that are like the best artworks. There isn't one perfect artwork. I don't think that's how it works. There need to be many different ones because they reflect on something that is inherently incoherent in a way. Like there are all these opposites that are necessary for life, right? Like good and bad, and like yin and yang, and like chaos and
yeah,
order, or whatever, right? So also our artworks have to reflect that, in that there can't be a single artwork that's like so there needs
yeah,
to be your artwork, right? It needs to be yours. It needs to be you. That's
yeah,
what you're
exactly.
saying, right? Like it needs to reflect
Yeah,
you deeply.
and also, so the more I study, the more I improve myself, and the more difficult it's my thinking become,
Hmm.
then the more is what I want from myself, and so my idea becomes more complete, more colorful, and I want
Mm.
more details because I know more details, and
Yes,
then
yes.
I want them to hear them. So it's always let's say how to say, like uh, it's like I'm following myself from
Ah,
behind.
yes, yes.
So I'm never reaching myself in that way,
Yeah, yeah.
because my idea improve, and then I try to just to follow.
Yes. And then
And
every year you basically reach your idea of last year, but then now you have
that
your ideal of next year, so you're still
uh
not there.
yeah, that's hard to say, because let's say that,
Hmm.
yeah, probably uh yeah, that's a good question, because
Hmm.
usually when I play a piece that I didn't play for months, for years, then it's always like, you should study one piece and practice before playing it good.
Hmm.
But then when I play after years, it's always better than before that when I studied it.
Hmm.
So somehow I just I improve it without practicing,
Yes.
because my ideas are getting better, and all the rest just comes with it.
That's nice.
But yeah, let's see that. Yeah, I'm not sure because I never. But that's the only cases when I can see in the past, let's say,
Yeah.
where I have a direct confrontation. Because all the rest of the time, I just cannot think as before.
Mm.
I just I just can see the new version of me, the new stuff I want to hear.
Yeah.
But for sure, if I hear also some recordings, then I can listen to many mistakes that maybe I wouldn't even care about before.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. Also in this case, the more you know, the more you don't. for in
For
somehow.
me, it's funnily sometimes the other way around, where I'm sometimes scared of looking at past games because I'm like, damn, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that I don't know anymore that I knew back then about how to
Ah,
do. Like, because I guess also my Go process is not as professional, right? Like I
yeah,
don't do as much as I used to. So some of my really old games, I look at them and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't find like half of these moves, you know? And I'm like, oh no.
yeah. That's funny. I was thinking the same lately,
Mm,
like because I don't know. It's even in Go, but in music too. I mean,
mhm.
if you get maybe a higher level, then you start thinking differently, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because, for, but but then if you look your old game, it may be that as if you are teaching to another guy, another weaker player,
Yes.
it's always something that maybe was better. And if you see it now, you understand how good it was.
Mm,
Let's say maybe before it was not even on purpose. Let's say it was
yes, yes.
intuition or something like that. But now you understand how good was that intuition, how good was that move or that piece.
Mm,
And for example, I heard uh, something I played, let's say 8 years ago,
uh-huh.
which was a concert,
Yes.
and some of the things I did, I thought, wow, this was very good idea or a very good
Huh.
sound here. And I remember that, but back then I remember the way I was thinking while I played,
Mm,
and it was quite free. I was thinking only about the music uh, and and what the idea should be. Like I
mm,
was really thinking only about how to express the idea, which is something that now I not always manage to do. That's what I realized. I realized that now I was too concerned about the
mm,
technical stuff,
mm.
like how should I play this this scale
Yeah,
or
yeah,
how to
yeah.
make this sound good. But then
Yes.
I realized that wait, maybe I should just me. I mean, I should also think about the natural stuff, like
Sometimes basically
being
sometimes you
natural.
need to break out of that pattern, right? Like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in Go, there's no rule that is always correct, right? This
yeah.
kind of thing.
And I also thinking about your Go.
Mm,
I remember that. I mean, I for sure remember your style, which was pretty creative.
mm.
And then you change your style to, let's say, to complete yourself, to learn also the rest of the Go, the style, the
Yes.
normal style. And so now my feeling is maybe that you can uh, let's say have the same problems of a composer who stopped writing and uh, and just studies,
Mhm.
because it's difficult to get to be creative again,
Yeah.
maybe. But I think it was one of your strengths, probably.
Yeah.
Because you are so creative that standard opening standard players were in real trouble against you.
Yeah.
And now I think you became so good at even at the common strategies.
Maybe.
I mean, we
Okay.
at least really okay,
Yeah. Really okay.
uh,
That's good.
and really better than before.
Mm, yes.
Really much better than before in that, in all of
Yeah.
that.
For sure.
And and probably even for you, I mean, it's not that easy to combine these two factors,
Yeah, it's not.
which we're really right. But that would be, yeah, probably amazing. I mean, when one can combine studies and his natural inclination, his creativity,
Yes.
I think that's the struggle,
I mean,
probably.
that's my goal for the next 5 years, let's say,
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
take my
super looking
time.
for sure. Yeah, but that's, I think, natural, because to improve you have to study, probably,
Mm.
and but to be yourself, you have to be yourself, and that's the other part, which is difficult to combine.
Yes.
So that's interesting. The more you study, the maybe the harder is to improve, to combine with yourself, probably,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if you have less studies, then it's 90% you and 10% studies,
Yeah.
so it's easy to make to make yourself. But then you have to improve also yourself somehow,
Yes.
to be at the same level.
Recently, I had one really nice game against Victor Lin, and
Nice.
like a really, really crazy game. He
Ah,
participated in the craziness. Like that
ah.
was really nice. He also went for the crazy moves and stuff like that. So that
Oh,
was really
that's
fun.
very
Like,
nice.
yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed that one because it also, yeah, it just reminded me of like how I used to play and like
Yeah.
the crazy games, and it was just so much fun. Yeah, amazing. I In the end I lost by no, by 1 point or something, but
Well,
it was really, really nice game. So yeah. So yeah, that's what I want to do now, of course, to have crazy games again in which I also, am able to maybe play a little bit of end game, or know a little
yes,
bit
yes.
when not to be too crazy, hold myself back a little bit, and not always fight, not play every cut, like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, to be
Yeah.
more solid, more. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's nice anyway. When I think there are always moments when you find again yourself when in what you're doing,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that's really both motivational and also interesting for to learn.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the probably the best moments. Yeah, it happens also when I'm playing. Sometimes really I can somehow forget all the technical stuff,
Mm.
and feeling like I'm only playing and speaking. Like
Oh, that's nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
can
that's
imagine. That's
quite difficult. Yeah, to achieve.
nice. Ah, okay, man. I think that's a good time to stop, to remind
Uh,
everyone, try to see that kid inside of you that was so free, and
yeah,
was seeing everything with curious eyes, right? Everything is new, right? And to try to tap into that from time to time, right? Like to I think that's also one thing that's really good when you're in nature or something, to look at everything as if it's like completely new, and in some sense it is, right? Every tree is a different
yeah,
tree, and so if you manage to not look at the tree and think about it's a tree, not think about the word, but just be there. I think this kind of feeling of seeing the world is very helpful, not to lose that, and
yeah,
yeah, be like a child from time to time, and give each other some love, be open-minded. So yeah, thanks a lot, man, for coming
it
on.
was my pleasure,
Yeah,
and thanks for.
I hope we can repeat this at some point. I would love to. It was
Yeah, why
nice.
not?
Yeah. And
it
also,
was
of
nice.
course, we need to repeat our Jubango or our match of
That's for
many
sure.
different games, this kind of
Ah,
stuff.
yeah, that too. Yeah.
It's coming
That
up
I'll
at some point,
always up.
hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, Probably.
playing some Clash Royale against each other and poker.
Yeah, I should install it again.
Yeah, it's more
But
important
yeah,
than music, you know. Who cares about that?
yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Do you have anywhere where people can find you, or like something you want to plug?
I started teaching in Polgote. You know Polgote?
Okay. I heard
It's
about it. This is Polish. I thought
Polish
Polish Go Center
Go
thing
site.
online.
Yeah, yes, it's held by Surma,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes.
professional Polish player. And yeah, I just started teaching there mainly because
Nice.
there was no one doing it in Italian, so I just
Mm-hmm.
proposed because of that.
Nice.
And I think there is no one speaking in German,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe you should do it too.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. And what else? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I have not much material online.
Yeah. But he's also
So,
streaming as a Mila Talim in
that's
Italian,
true.
right? For the
Yeah,
Italiano
in Italian.
people here.
Yeah, for the Italiano people, yeah, you can find me, and
Yes.
yeah, that's funny. And yeah,
What about
hopefully see
music? Is there
you.
something of your music that one can find online
Ah,
actually?
yeah, I mean nothing official, but you can find. I mean, if you write my name and flute, then
Mm-hmm.
you find me playing for sure.
So Alessandro Pace flute.
Yeah, if you nothing incredible, but
Okay,
you can
nothing
find
crazy.
many stuff.
That's nice.
And
That's nice.
yeah,
I might do
but
that. I might do that later.
yeah, hopefully see you in the next EGC whenever
Yes.
it will be. I guess I
Yeah.
will be there.
Hopefully.
And
Really, that would be nice.
and yeah, if you hear a flute, then find me. Probably me.
Arigato gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you a lot, man.
Thank you.
Okay.